While others look forward to adventures in another world, he only wants to go home. When his classmates excitedly welcome the hero's trials, he is brushed off by the goddess with a single sentence and sent into a portal. But when he opens his eyes, what greets him is not Earth. It is a forest brimming with killing intent and swarms of monsters. He has no power, no blessing, and is even cursed. He becomes the most useless outsider in this world. Yet from this very step, a man abandoned by the gods will set out on his own path of comeback. And just yesterday, a group of students were summoned to this world by the goddess. The goddess proclaimed, "Chosen heroes, welcome to your arrival here. The evil demon king is about to be resurrected, and the other world is about to face calamity. For this, we need the heroes' help." But the students found everything before their eyes hard to believe. They had too many questions to ask. At this moment, one classmate was the first to ask, levels, skills, status windows, and monsters, do they exist like in a game? The goddess gave an affirmative answer to this. After that, the classmates asked their respective questions, and the goddess answered them one by one. In the answers, they learned that the power bestowed upon each person is different. Only by passing the relevant trials and receiving their blessings can one become a true hero. For now, contacting the outside world is impossible. Only upon defeating the Demon King can one wish be granted. The goddess asked if anyone still had questions. A man slowly raised his left hand, requesting to be sent back to Earth. The goddess said she had already stated that only by defeating the Demon King could his wish be fulfilled. Kong Hansu said he did not want to save the other world, because he did not want to become a hero. But this world is about to face disaster. Countless lives will be brought to an end because of it. Do you not have even a shred of compassion? Kong Hansu apologized, but said he could not let his family worry. Then the goddess stepped forward and asked if anyone else, like him, did not wish to become a hero. Please step to the front, she would not force their choice. However, only Kong Hansu wanted to go back. Mr. Kong Hansu, it seems this place is not for you. I will send you back to Earth right now. Gazing at the dazzling portal before him, Kong Hansu resolutely stepped inside. But when he opened his eyes, he found himself in a forest. Then a sound came from behind him, and when Kong Hansu looked back, a horde of monsters met his eyes. He froze. What on earth is this? Damn that goddess, this is not Earth at all. Meanwhile, a holy light descended on the center of the sanctuary. The classmates were all transported to the other world, where they would soon face the gods' trials. Elsewhere, the monsters were relentlessly pursuing Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu cursed the damned goddess. She never intended to send him back in the first place. If this really is another world, perhaps some kind of miracle will occur. Just then, a message came through. Kong Hansu, level 1, no blessing, currently under a curse. Able to communicate verbally with those hostile to heroes. Experience and achievement gains greatly reduced. Kong Hansu cursed. Damn it, she actually cast a curse on his level up window. Faced with the monster's relentless chase, he was already physically and mentally exhausted. It was all that damned goddess's fault. At that moment, an arrow struck him. Kong Hansu looked on in shock. It was a group of elves. He was confused. What on earth was going on? Then a wolf clan stepped forward to confront them, so he seized the opportunity to run away. A moment later, Kong Hansu hid under a tree. He wondered whether he should pray to the gods. All of this was the goddess's fault, and even if he died, he would not pray to a god like that. Meanwhile, a message came, some god is peeking at you. Although he did not know what exactly was before him, Kong Hansu still pleaded to be saved. At this moment, the god responded as well, asking why he was alone. Faced with the god's question, Kong Hansu was about to answer that it was that damned goddess who sent him here. But on second thought, what if the god before him was in cahoots with the goddess? So he asked the deity before him to save him, but was refused by the god. The god said she would not help a stranger. Kong Hansu questioned whether gods were all outsiders. The god curiously asked what exactly outsider meant. Outsider itself is not a very nice word, so Kong Hansu did not seriously explain its meaning. He was afraid of receiving a strange curse again. So he explained to the god that an outsider refers to a lone wolf crossing the wasteland. Hearing this, the god said she very much liked the term. Only then did Kong Hansu breathe a sigh of relief. He had finally muddled through. Then he once again asked the god to save him. But the god instead curiously asked him whether he was also an outsider. Kong Hansu gave an affirmative answer. At this moment, the god was pondering whether to help the outsider. The god slowly raised her left hand. She decided to help the poor outsider. Then a divine light descended, and Kong Hansu's pain vanished instantly. He thought to himself that they really were gods. Looking at the now healthy Kong Hansu, the god felt very proud. Looking at his own status window, he found that an outsider's blessing had been added. Under it, all states would be reset except death. Kong Hansu asked if he was no longer an outsider but an insider, would the god still help him? But the god said she would only help outsiders. At this moment, the wolf pack discovered them, and Kong Hansu immediately began to flee. Under the god's blessing, not only were the injuries he suffered reset, even his physical fatigue was gone. In an instant, Kang Hansu felt that the god's power was truly miraculous. But the god reminded him, saying that he simply would not die from grievous injuries. Meanwhile, Kang Hansu ran to the edge of a cliff. The god warned him that if he jumped from here, he would surely die. Facing the pack of wolves behind him, Kang Hansu came up with a bold idea. "Attention, all you monsters, whoever catches me first, I'll belong to them." Hearing this, the wolf pack rushed to attack him one after another. So Kang Hansu turned their plan to his advantage and jumped off the cliff, taking all the wolves with him. There was a loud boom. A moment later, he opened his eyes again. The plan worked, he was actually still alive. So it seemed the god's blessing had taken effect. He mused that the wolf tribe was not such a big deal after all. At this moment, a figure caught Kang Hansu's attention. It turned out one werewolf had survived. Next, Kang Hansu checked its status, Blue Moon Butcher, level 3. Kang Hansu thought to himself that it was actually higher level than he was. If he killed it, would he gain a lot of experience? Sorry, but you're going to become my experience. Meanwhile, the classmates were receiving information about the other world. Levels and blessings can greatly boost one's strength. Receiving a blessing does not mean the end. The gods are watching you at all times. At this moment, a student asked whether the gods watch everything they do. The oracle goddess gave an affirmative answer to this. But she said they are not human, so please do not judge the gods by human standards. After that, gods of all kinds voiced their views. A student asked whether the gods would give better blessings to more interesting people. At that moment, two gods expressed agreement with Jang Mion's idea. Then she received a blessing from the gods. Charm, your body will exude an enchanting fragrance, and the chance of securing a dominant position will increase. In an instant, all the Kang Hansus were captivated by her. At this time, the goddess signaled for her to stop using the blessing. Before she finished speaking, the girl received a punitive curse from a god. A certain pure goddess did not like such impure behavior. Then the goddess explained that the gods grant blessings to those they favor, and curses to those they do not. So you must always pay close attention to your conduct. Immediately after, the goddess slapped her on the back. In an instant, she felt excruciating pain. The curse she received would double any harm and criticism inflicted on her. The goddess warned them to remember. Once you receive a blessing or a curse, it will accompany you until death. As your level rises, its effects will become even more pronounced. The student panicked. Doesn't that mean I'm finished? It's only an F-grade punishment and it's already this severe? The goddess reassured them. Don't be afraid, because a curse can be offset by a blessing. Elsewhere, Kang Hansu was puzzled as to why his level had not risen. He looked at the monsters strewn everywhere. Could it be because of that curse? Then Kang Hansu asked the god if there was any useful information. The god gave a negative answer to this. The scene shifted, and they encountered the wolf tribe again. At this moment, the god hoped he could die peacefully. Meanwhile, the wolf pack seemed to smell the scent of blood, and were searching for the source of the odor. Kang Hansu was quietly watching all of this from the side. Gazing at the newly acquired dagger, Kang Hansu was no longer afraid of any monster. Then he picked up a rope from the ground, and made himself a simple scabbard. He asked the god if she had heard of centrifugal force. Kang Hansu kept swinging the stone in his hand as he slowly stepped into the werewolf's line of sight. Although each swing inflicted damage on himself, fortunately, the god's blessing took effect. Kang Hansu thought he probably knew how to use the god's blessing now. As long as he could avoid instant death, he would be an invincible existence. In other words, he could keep fighting on the edge of death. At this moment, a stone struck Kang Hansu directly on the head. In an instant, the wolves swarmed forward. But the next second, they suffered a blow right to the head. In less than a moment, all the werewolves were knocked to the ground. Even the god gave Kang Hansu high praise. One werewolf was still alive by sheer luck. Kang Hansu ordered it to tell him where humans live. If you dare lie to me, you will not be able to bear the consequences. Faced with such a vicious human, the werewolf immediately revealed everything it knew. Then Kang Hansu raised his hand and delivered a crushing blow to its head. He said that he had promised not to hurt it, but never said he would spare it. Kang Hansu was puzzled. He had killed so many monsters, so why had his level not increased? Meanwhile, the teacher announced that training would begin tomorrow. He would be in charge of swordsmanship, and Aina beside him would handle magic. They could choose the field they were interested in. At this moment, a man asked whether it was possible to study both at the same time. The teacher gave an affirmative answer. Oh Hanwoo asked whether he could skip studying and freely explore instead. The teacher also gave an affirmative answer to this. At this time, a certain immature chief god became interested. In the evening, Oh Hanwoo sat at the head of the bed. He thought that you cannot learn anything from training. The protagonist has his own unique way. The next day, he found that he had actually received a blessing from the gods. Special, you are the most special existence in this world. Oh Hanwoo seemed to have found a way to increase his strength. He slowly walked out of the temple. He thought that he could at least grow into an A-grade hero. The scene shifted, and Oh Hanwoo arrived at a guild. He immediately said he wanted to register as a hunter. But a woman beside him mocked him, saying he was just a newbie and should hurry home. At that moment, Oh Han-woo thought it was the effect of the god's blessing. He refuted her, saying she could not judge someone's strength just by appearances. You make mistakes sometimes too, don't you? After his little speech, the woman agreed with his point of view. At this moment, Oh Han-woo was fantasizing about the moment he became the protagonist. I'm the hero of this world. A certain immature god let out a laugh. Meanwhile, the werewolf was stammering, saying that the human village was to the west. It then immediately suffered a fatal blow from Kong Han-soo. He said he was very grateful for the information. He had not expected them to be surprisingly honest. Although he did not know how far it was, at least he now had a goal to move toward. Kong Han-soo recalled his process of turning from prey into a hunter. Could this be what they call a hidden talent? Of course, this was also thanks to the god's blessing. At this moment, the god apologized for what had been said before. Kong Han-soo asked if they meant the part about only wanting him to die. The god said that they actually did not care what would happen. Meanwhile, a werewolf lunged head-on at Kong Han-soo. With a single swift slash, Kong Han-soo took it down. Immediately, 2 more werewolves came at him, and Kong Han-soo dispatched them in a single instant movement. However, the strange thing was that his level was still stuck at 1. Kong Han-soo wondered what on earth the reason was. Just then, a fierce quarrel drew Kong Han-soo's attention. Kong Han-soo looked up and saw that 3 humans were arguing. But the next second, an arrow came flying toward Kong Han-soo. Kong Han-soo cursed. Damn it, he did not expect to be discovered so quickly. But what should he do if they did not speak the same language? So Kong Han-soo made a bold decision. He went straight to his knees before them, indicating he meant no harm. Kong Han-soo thought that although they might not understand his language, they should understand body language. The woman raised her bow and aimed it at him, and Kong Han-soo hurriedly said, "Wait, I am a good person." The scene shifted, and they came to a cliff. Gazing at the smoke slowly rising in the distance, Kong Han-soo thought that the otherworldly life he longed for was about to begin. Meanwhile, a group of werewolves suddenly launched an attack on them. They were quickly wiped out. Then the Wolf King charged straight at the archer, but was easily blocked by Kong Han-soo. Then a sharp claw swiped at him. Kong Han-soo dodged in an instant, and drove his blade into the Wolf King's neck. The Wolf King died on the spot. Kong Han-soo said that without them, he would have been in trouble. But in the very next second, an arrow pierced straight through Kong Han-soo's chest, and he collapsed stiffly to the ground. He almost ruined the plan. If not for the Wolf King's appearance, I would not have known how dangerous he was. He is clearly a level 1 guy, yet he handled the Wolf King with ease. If we let him live, he will ruin things for us. And I do not think he would accept being made a slave. We should take his dagger, it looks like a good item. Meanwhile, the villagers looked on mockingly, remarking that the guy was still clutching his dagger even in death. At this moment, Kong Han-soo's status window appeared before the villager. There are only 2 ways to see a window. One is that someone shares it voluntarily. The other is to still be alive when the target is killed. Just then, a short sword pierced through the villager's chest. Even the 2 in front, upon seeing this, suspected he might be a demon. Just as the older man was about to attack, Kong Han-soo had already instant-stepped right in front of him, and cut him down with a single strike. At that moment, an arrow flew in, but it did not hurt him in the least. Looking at the terrifying Kong Han-soo before her, the archer began to beg incessantly. "I'm really sorry. Please don't kill me. When you killed me just now, you didn't expect it would be your turn so soon, did you?" But the woman could not understand a word he was saying. The scene shifted. Kong Han-soo put on the woman's clothes, thinking that although they fit quite well, they felt uncomfortable. Is it because they are women's clothes? At this moment the gods burst into laughter, saying they would respect the outsider's preferences. Kong Han-soo argued that this was not a preference. It was because the woman's build was similar to his, while the other 2 were wearing heavy armor. Kong Han-soo thought that this bow should come in handy. At this moment, Kong Han-soo suddenly recalled that before the woman died, her status window had appeared for a second and then vanished. She had a god's blessing, yet she was not a hero. Bullseye raises accuracy when shooting arrows. Kong Han-soo wondered if this was a common blessing in this world. At this moment, a god sent a prompt, saying this was not the point he should be focusing on, and asked where he intended to go next. After a moment's thought, Kong Han-soo decided to head to the human village. Just then, the god sent another prompt, saying that as an outsider, he should have chosen to run away at the time. The scene shifted, and Kong Han-soo arrived at the village. He first took a good bath. Just then, someone outside gestured for Kong Han-soo to open the door. Kong Han-soo said he was bathing and asked them to wait a moment. Then Kong Han-soo picked up the dagger at his side. Although he did not know whether the one outside was human, since they could communicate with him, they were probably the hostile race mentioned in the blessing. So Kong Han-soo slowly opened the door and motioned for them to come in. The visitor introduced himself as the village chief of this village. He had heard a traveler had come to the village but could not speak their language. The chief remarked that Kong Han-soo was a very unique name. Kong Hansu froze. He could actually see his status window. The chief reminded him that if he did not want others to see it, he should try to hide it. Kong Hansu was surprised. This thing could be hidden. The chief explained that he did not look like an elf, but more like a foreigner. This village has a bad relationship with the elves. Because of their greed, homeless werewolves kept flooding into human territory. Many humans died as a result. The chief asked whether he could ask him one last question. This potion had been added to his food from the moment he started eating. Why had the paralytic effect not shown on him? Hearing this, Kong Hansu grabbed the dagger and swung it straight at him. But in the next second, he froze in place. The chief said it seemed the drug had taken effect. This was a special potion he had made for the elves. The chief consoled him that he had not done anything wrong. He was just unlucky. At this moment, the god said she had been warning him all along. The scene shifted to a dungeon. The chief said that people only hate werewolves. Only he knew that the werewolves were victims too. Our true enemies should be those damned elves. Look at my status window and you will discover a truth. Unexpectedly, the chief had also been cursed. Fairy tale, as a chosen one, you will become the mortal enemy of the elves. Your lifespan will be shortened, damage and hatred from elves will greatly increase. Kong Hansu wondered if this was a curse placed by the goddess. The chief said it was the resentment of those dead elves. Kong Hansu said that he was not an elf. The chief said that, in fact, he did not need to explain so much to him. But after seeing this dagger, he changed his mind. Where did you get it? Kong Hansu originally wanted to say that he had gotten the dagger from a werewolf. But seeing the elves behind him, he feared he would end up the same way. So he explained that he had taken it after killing an elf. The chief was shocked that he had actually killed an elf of the royal family. I really want to let you go, but you have seen my status window as well. I am a mage without a magic blessing. Kong Hansu was stunned. The chief wondered, did he know nothing? Kong Hansu explained that because he was an outsider, no one had taught him the rules of this world. The chief asked what that meant. Kong Hansu said it merely meant a lone wolf crossing the wasteland. The chief praised it as a fine term, but said he would never have the chance to cross the wasteland again. At this moment, the god silently prayed, hoping Kong Hansu would have better luck in his next life. The chief raised his hand and waved, and then an elf girl fell to the ground. The chief said he was a dark mage, and that Kong Hansu must become the sacrifice to extend his life. The elf's curse would consume his life, but he could extend his life by sacrificing others. As a reward for killing a royal, he would let Kong Hansu die a little more comfortably. Kong Hansu said the other was truly generous. But could he say one last thing? The chief said he was glad to hear his last words. So what exactly do you want to say? Kong Hansu asked whether the chief's many abnormal behaviors were all to gain others' approval for his actions. I believe no one has ever approved of your methods, right? So can you understand me? Kong Hansu said of course, because he was an outsider. You once said what outsider means. Then by that measure, I also count as an outsider. Because right now I am also a lone wolf, and today I finally found someone who can understand me. Then, an elf man was placed on the magic circle. As the chief chanted the incantation, that elf's life instantly transferred to the chief. Only then did Kong Hansu realize the chief had not become younger, and wondered why that was. The chief said it was because he was not human at all. The chief slowly loosened his clothes, and then a wolf's head appeared before Kong Hansu. That's right, I am a half-blood werewolf. Unbelievable, isn't it? I will use this body to exact revenge on the elves. I am grateful for your appearance. It made me realize my true identity. I am a true outsider, a wolf running across the wasteland. Kong Hansu asked if he still intended to kill him. The chief said of course, because an outsider is unique. At this moment, Kong Hansu realized deeply just how dangerous an outsider was. Next, the chief began casting black magic at Kong Hansu. Each casting would sacrifice a life. The chief asked if Kong Hansu was willing to give his life to him. Is it important in black magic to obtain another's consent? The chief said that even if he did not answer, the black magic would still take effect. Kong Hansu said, wait, he had one request before he died. The chief, impatient, asked what he wanted now. Kong Hansu said he wanted to see Miso one more time before he died. The chief asked if he meant the woman with the bow, and why he wanted to see her again. Kong Hansu said it was because he was her lover. But the chief grabbed him and told him to stop talking nonsense. Only that Kong Hansu named Cole is. Kong Hansu said that if he did not believe him, he could smell his scent. The chief confirmed that her scent was indeed on him. After thinking for a moment, the chief asked if he had any other requests. Kong Hansu said that if he could endure this black magic, then the chief must return his freedom to him. Hearing this, the chief gladly agreed to his request. In the next second, a powerful current flooded through Kong Hansu's whole body. Kong Hansu cursed. Damn it, hadn't the other said it would not hurt at all? The chief said, goodbye. I will tell Mesa that you went to a faraway place. Kong Hansu said that would not work, because Misa was already dead. While the chief was stunned, Kong Hansu had already thrown a punch, landing squarely on the chief's face. The chief was shocked. How on earth had he broken free? Kong Hansu said he would tell him, but after he was dead. The reason he was able to survive was entirely thanks to the outsider's blessing. It reset all the damage Kong Hansu had taken. Kong Hansu declared that it was time to keep his promise. Then Kong Hansu slashed through the elf girl's chains with a single stroke. Now she will be the witness to our promise. Didn't you say you wouldn't interfere with my actions at all before I saw Misa? The chief said that as for such promises, he only had to return the life to him to fulfill them. Then a coil of black energy wrapped around him, and the chief urged him to surrender obediently. Kong Hansu said that was a bit premature. The next second, the chief spat a mouthful of blood, and his power vanished completely in an instant. This is your power? Damn it, who on earth are you? Kong Hansu said he was nothing more than the outsider's apostle. Hearing this, the god was so happy she danced with joy. Looking at the person on the brink of death before him, Kong Hansu hesitated. If he killed him, a level 16, he would gain a lot of experience. But for now, preserving his own life was more important. The chief cursed that he would never forgive him. Damned human, he had actually destroyed his dream. Then he launched an attack at Kong Hansu. A sharp claw swept down, and Kong Hansu immediately fell to his knees. You must be very surprised, right? This is werewolf swordsmanship, a method I kept to use against the elves. Then Kong Hansu stood up without a scratch. The chief looked at all this in disbelief. He said it was impossible. That had clearly been a killing blow. Then the chief turned to run, but the elf girl beside him grabbed his calf hard. A fierce slash from Kong Hansu came down. I'm sorry, daughter. Daddy can't avenge you. You just rest in peace. Looking at the cold corpse before him, the god sent a message. It seemed he still had regrets even in death. Afterwards, Kong Hansu rescued the imprisoned elves, and gathered the villagers to come and resolve the matter together. He thought things would end there. Unexpectedly, everyone looked at Kong Hansu with gloomy faces. Next, Kong Hansu was driven to the edge of a cliff by the elves. Kong Hansu did not know what they were saying at all. But, one day I will be back. Then Kong Hansu lipped. Damn this other world. Meanwhile, the elf princess's maid was demanding that Kong Hansu be brought to justice. But he saved us from the village chief. So what? He is holding the princess's dagger. We can't easily trust humans. What is the point of doing this? At this moment, the councilwoman Celeblis came walking up. She is hailed by the elves as the sacred sun. Because she possesses infinite life, she has become the elf who has been imprisoned the longest. Then Celeblis began her account. He clearly could have escaped alone, yet still turned back to save her. I believe he must be coveting your infinite life. But know this. He used a black magic contract called Breach of Contract. When the contract is breached, you must repay double what was taken. The village chief underestimated her life, and ended up dead as a result. Although I understand the pain you've gone through, I must go find him now. But your current physical condition isn't very good. Celeblis said this was her own affair. From this moment on, she would no longer be a councilwoman. Then she turned and left. At this moment, the god was silently watching all of this. The scene shifted, and the god was telling Kong Hansu everything she had seen. Kong Hansu thought this was not a place to linger. Looking at the werewolves lurking under the trees, recalling the scene of himself being chased by hunters, Kong Hansu made a choice. Compared to humans and elves, he trusted werewolves more right now. And it just so happened there were some things he needed to ask them about. He leapt high, and the next second cut down all the werewolves. He was puzzled. Only 3 werewolves? How disappointing. But his body seemed more agile than before. Could he have leveled up without noticing? The window showed no level up. But what exactly is this ratio? It was growing slightly. At this moment, the god's bursts of laughter came. He did not even know what ratio was. Then the god said the higher this value, the better. Next, Kong Hansu questioned the surviving werewolf beside him. He said he was extremely angry at the elves right now, and hoped he would answer his questions truthfully. Upon hearing elves, the werewolf looked excited. Kong Hansu asked whether he knew how to use werewolf swordsmanship, because his own strength was still insufficient to challenge the goddess. If he could learn werewolf swordsmanship, at least he could become stronger than he was now. But the werewolf said that was the power of flesh. Kong Hansu was confused. What does the power of flesh have to do with werewolf swordsmanship? The information obtained still was not comprehensive. It looked like he had to study werewolf ecology properly. The scene shifted. Looking at a werewolf feeding, Kong Hansu had been observing it for several days. Whenever it had the chance, it would launch an attack at Kong Hansu. He easily fended them off. Kong Hansu doubted whether it was really a level 6 werewolf. The werewolf said of course. It proudly showed off the trophies in its hand. It pointed to a thatched hut, saying there were elves there. It then devoured the rabbit in its hand completely. Next, a surge of power gathered in its body, and Kong Hansu asked if it had recovered its strength. Countless forces burst forth within its body, and then it launched an attack at Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu said that thanks to it, he finally understood the power of flesh. In an instant, the werewolf was cut in 2 by him. Kong Hansu sighed that although their time together had been short, he had learned a lot. The werewolf trembled and asked if he was also a werewolf. Kong Hansu said no, he was human. This is a power you can use by controlling your emotions. Truly amazing. Meanwhile, the god sent congratulations. The god was amazed at his changes. But Kong Hansu said that ordinary people probably would not be able to use this power. Besides, if he did not have the god's blessing, he might have died back in that sacrifice. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu was running through the forest, facing the weird wolves he encountered along the way. Kong Hansu also sent them flying on the spot. Although his strength had improved, he could not feel happy at all. That damned goddess had ruined his freedom. Following the god's guidance, Kong Hansu returned to the village. Next, he would punish those savages. He was about to sneak into the village, but found the guards were so tight. At this moment, the god was urging Kong Hansu to act quickly. Although he did not know why the god had started to help him, Kong Hansu still chose to trust her. She aligned with his own intuition. Kong Hansu used the dagger as a pivot, took a powerful leap toward the village, and then landed steadily inside the village. Kong Hansu thought he must be lucky, because no one was here. At this moment, the god proudly said that he had better thank her properly. Kong Hansu thought about his next move. A soldier came walking toward him, and Kong Hansu silently eliminated him. Kong Hansu thought that humans and werewolves did not feel much different. Although he did not want to kill him, and knew that he too had a family, he hardened his heart. It was all because of this damned otherworld, which had caused him and his family to hardly be able to see each other. I will never let you trample on my head again. The scene shifted. Looking at the human corpse before him, Kong Hansu was puzzled. So many soldiers had been lost, yet no one noticed? In that case, how was he supposed to find the elves? Suddenly, Kong Hansu thought that elves, like humans, take baths. He figured he should search in the direction of the bathhouse. At this moment, the god was mocking Kong Hansu's stupidity. Just then, a sound drew Kong Hansu's attention. It turned out humans had captured elves. It seemed things were getting more and more interesting. Meanwhile, an elf girl was seized while she slept. He thought that the other elves had probably been taken away like this too. The scene shifted to an underground cell. The humans said the elves could not be allowed to leave alive, otherwise they would seize human homelands again. The leader spoke up. Let's begin. The humans kept slaughtering the elves before them, and the entire chamber was filled with their wails. A moment later, they had only one target left, and that was Celeblis. She held a high position among the elves. Killing her would surely invite devastating retaliation. Celeblis said she fully understood how they felt. Yet they had killed her savior, all just to keep their secret. At this moment, a villager said that if she could keep this secret, they would let her go. Do you think I would accept such a threat? The villager said that even if she lied, they would let her go. But why did she have to oppose them? Elves never lie. The villager said then they would have no choice, and would try to make her feel as little pain as possible. Just as the bald man before her was about to swing his sword, a sound of fighting came from outside. Celeblis slowly opened her eyes, and saw a man standing boldly before her. It's you. We meet again. But I should deal with these two in front of me first. Whether elves or villagers, I decided from the start not to spare them. At this moment, a woman was begging Kong Hansu to spare her. Although Kong Hansu could understand the language she was using, it was of no use. He raised his hand and cut her down on the spot. Another woman who tried to take the chance to escape was also killed on the spot by the small knife he threw. Kong Hansu thought the operation was even easier than he had imagined. It seemed wise to have taken down the big guy in advance. Meanwhile, Celeblis sent a plea for help toward Kong Hansu. But Kong Hansu did not understand what she meant at all, so she displayed her status window. Kong Hansu thought she was deliberately showing this to him. He had only one blessing, while she had 3, and all of them were high level. Taming slightly increases the ability to tame animals, significantly raises the chance of taming wary animals. Kong Hansu wondered why she wanted him to see this window. Your name is Celeblis? The elf gave an affirmative reply. Whether due to the outsider's blessing or not, Kong Hansu actually felt a flutter for the elf before him. At this moment, the god sent a reminder. He was an outsider, a lone wild wolf. Kong Hansu said he knew that if he ceased to be an outsider, he would be punished by the god. But looking at the pitiful elf before him, Kong Hansu still felt compassion. Although he had planned to kill everyone before, if he really did that, how would he be any different from these humans? Handle the rest as you see fit. Just then, Celeblis stumbled and was about to fall. Kong Hansu reacted quickly and caught her in his arms. Thank you, Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu was surprised that she actually knew his name. A moment later, Kong Hansu helped Celeblis out. When Kong Hansu asked the god why the village was so quiet, she was openly displeased. She even said that if he did not abandon the elf, she would never acknowledge Kong Hansu again. The scene shifted. The two were running through the forest. At this moment, Celeblis motioned for Kong Hansu to look up at the sky, and a phoenix flew overhead. Then Celeblis signaled for Kong Hansu to put her down. She walked straight toward the phoenix, whispering softly by its side. Kong Hansu wondered if she was using taming to make it her companion. Then Celeblis turned to look at Kong Hansu, and kept speaking of her feelings for him. Then she gave him a kiss. Even the god was shocked by the scene. "Goodbye, Kong Hansu. We will definitely meet again." Then she mounted the phoenix and flew off into the distance. Meanwhile, the god was venting her displeasure at Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu could not believe his first kiss was just gone like that. Just then, they noticed Kong Hansu's status window actually had an additional blessing from the elves. Kong Hansu was delighted. It was a new blessing, and a high-level one at that. At this moment, looking at the newly added blessing in the window, Kong Hansu was very excited. He then checked the blessing's attributes. Fairy, as a friend of the elves, your youth and lifespan are greatly increased. All effects gained from elves will be greatly enhanced. This is fantastic. Using werewolf swordsmanship consumes lifespan. If I use these two blessings together, I won't have to worry about that. The god beside him still paid him little heed. Kong Hansu said that the real reason he was happy was because he had finally abandoned that elf. Hearing this, the god was instantly overjoyed. This time, let's go somewhere far away. At this moment, an innocent werewolf was walking toward him. Kong Hansu grabbed it by the neck, and said to it amicably, "Take me to visit your home." The scene shifted, and the werewolf before his eyes was howling in agony. At this moment, Kong Hansu had already carved his way through the werewolf's main stronghold. The god curiously asked how many werewolves he had actually killed. Kong Hansu said he could not quite remember. Probably over 1,000. He had checked his wounds countless times during battle. Although one more curse had been added, there was something more important. Namely, that he could not level up. Kong Hansu had expected that he would level up slowly because of the goddess's curse. But he had not expected it to be this difficult. At this moment, the god also looked troubled. But what's the deal with this curse? Slaughter. Friendly races will feel fear toward you, and the probability of their resisting you will increase greatly. Kong Hansu sighed that now he had become a true outsider. Just then, a bracelet at the side caught Kong Hansu's attention. These things used to be enough, but since he could not level up, his only way to grow stronger was to opt for wealth. Meanwhile, a group of werewolves was quietly closing in. It seemed there were still werewolves remaining. Then the werewolves launched an attack on him. Kong Hansu was very grateful for their arrival, because their presence let him become more proficient in using his power. "So, have you decided how you're going to die?" The scene shifted. Kong Hansu had amassed a large amount of gold coins. He was about to trade them, but was troubled about how to communicate. At that moment, someone asked, "Hey, you level 1 human over there. Have you noticed the guy who's killed a lot of werewolves?" Hearing this, Kong Hansu grabbed him in one go. He excitedly said the other actually spoke the human language. He asked what his name was. "Maybe we can become good friends." But he looked displeased, saying he was a demon. Kong Hansu was surprised that someone who looked so refined was actually a demon. Kong Hansu recalled the goddess had once said that the Demon King was an extremely powerful existence. Yet the subordinate of the Demon King before him was so very weak. The demon complained that he was far too rude, calling himself a friend, yet punching him upon meeting. Not all demons are extremely powerful. Looking at the sniveling demon before him, Kong Hansu felt very sorry. The demon questioned why a level 1 guy would possess such ridiculous strength. Kong Hansu said it was all thanks to the god's blessing. The demon told him to stop bluffing. "You have more curses than blessings." Kong Hansu was surprised that the other could actually see his window. The demon said of course. No window could escape his right eye. "But are you not planning to let go of my neck?" Kong Hansu said this was how friends greeted each other. The demon complained that it sounded like if he were not his friend, he would have had his neck snapped already. The demon introduced himself as a dark mage, and that he had left home to avoid getting married. Kong Hansu was surprised. So young and already getting married? The demon said it was because this body had reached marriageable age. Hearing this, the god immediately grew interested. She wanted to know more about him. Kong Hansu asked if he still had not gotten married yet. "If you die unmarried, wouldn't that be too tragic?" The demon said the stronger a demon is, the more spouses he can have. As for him, he ran away from home because he did not want to become the 243rd husband of some old demon. Kong Hansu lamented that this was truly pitiful. The demon said he did not need his pity. "But why are you still able to move freely up to now?" Kong Hansu did not understand what he meant. The demon said he had used a potion that could immobilize even the elves. Yet it had no effect on him. "Are you really a human?" Kong Hansu thought it was the same potion the village chief used. "Damn it, you've made me recall something unpleasant." The demon immediately used magic to restrain him, but Kong Hansu broke free with ease. Kong Hansu questioned what he thought he was doing. Shocked, the demon said he was practically a monster, breaking free so easily. Then Kong Hansu muttered, "What exactly is your relationship with the village chief?" The demon said that was a foolish question. How could he remember with so many village chiefs? Kong Hansu said he meant the village chief with a wolf's head on his chest. At this moment, the demon suddenly remembered. That was a human standing on the edge of death. He had merely saved him from the elf's curse in passing. So it was you who helped him? The scene shifted, and the demon thought Kong Hansu was practically a demon himself. He was actually swinging my body around like a twig. Friend, how is your consideration of that request going? I think it's a bit excessive. Then do you want to die? The demon hurriedly said no, and asked him to give him a moment. The demon cast magic to heal himself. Kong Hansu thought, was that similar to the outsider's ability? So can you help me now? The demon said that was impossible, because there is a terrifying saint in the nearby city. I haven't gotten married yet, so I can't die. But I can take you to city number 2. If it's that place, I'm willing to help. Kong Hansu agreed, since he also did not want to run into the goddess's underlings in the city he was headed to. Next, the demon said they had to take the side path. Lately, the Night Order had started controlling the forest. Although that did not affect Kong Hansu much, it was very dangerous for him as a demon. Kong Hansu had no objection to this, since he was also troubled by the language barrier. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu curiously asked the demon what his name was. The demon introduced himself as Cogmos, the 23rd child born to the 348th wife of the 14th demon king. Humans place great importance on royal status. Among demons there is no real hierarchy of status. Kong Hansu concluded that, simply put, the other party was a little demon with nothing to his name. At this moment, the god was urging Kong Hansu to hurry and leave the forest. Meanwhile, the demon discovered a footprint, and thought they were not far from getting out of the forest. But they could not relax yet. Beyond the forest was the Night Kingdom of Masta, which was also orc territory. Kong Hansu was full of expectation, hoping to meet some kind folks. The demon warned that orcs were even harder to handle than werewolves. Several burly orcs came into view. At the same time, they caught the scent of a human. Cogmos cursed. Damn it, they were discovered. He asked Kong Hansu if he had not considered that his red eyes were extremely conspicuous in the dark. Kong Hansu said he had known that for a long time. Cogmos asked why he did not hide them, then. Kong Hansu said it was because he thought they looked cool. Besides, they let him see crystal clear in the dark. It's only 10 orcs, no need to make a fuss. Then Kong Hansu leapt forward. He had intended to talk with them for a bit. They mocked him as a skinny pig. Kong Hansu said he was a human. Yet they kept yammering on about it. Kong Hansu thought, skinny pig, how annoying. It seemed there was no need to talk anymore. Kong Hansu drew his dagger and instantly killed the orc in front of him. The orcs were utterly stunned. Now let's see who the real skinny pig is. Then Kong Hansu killed them in a single exchange. Didn't you say they were strong? Looks like they're nothing special. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu had already dealt with all the orcs. But Cogmos, since you're traveling with me, you should at least do something. At this moment, Cogmos was rolling back and forth on the ground. Kong Hansu wondered what the heck that was. It looked dangerous. But he gestured for him to look at the sky. A white dragon suddenly appeared before their eyes, and he said a saintess was riding that dragon. She's very strong, able to hit me precisely from far, far away. But that way lies the elf kingdom. If the saintess heads there, that would be bad. We escaped with our lives. But the two of us running into a saintess, what rotten luck. We have to find out why the saintess is going to the elf kingdom. But shouldn't you be worrying about yourself right now? This little wound isn't fatal, but it'll take a long time to recover. So you have to carry me. Kong Hansu said that was absolutely impossible. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu was carrying Cogmos on his back as he walked. At this moment, the god opined that Kong Hansu should throw him into an orc's mouth. Kong Hansu felt this was awful. The demon also felt uneasy. If anyone discovered a human was helping him, his future marriage plans would be ruined. By the way, you're so strong. Are you really human? Kong Hansu said he was not an ordinary human. Because I almost became a hero. You almost became a hero? To be honest, seeing your status, I'm shocked. The hero's curse is mainly for demons. When a demon loses to a hero, he receives this curse. That makes it very hard for a demon to level up, and revenge against a hero becomes impossible. So how have you survived up to now? Kong Hansu said he had only one elven blessing. As for an outsider's blessing, he still was not clear on its effects. The demon said he had traveled many countries and gathered a lot of information, yet had never heard of an outsider blessing. If it were something like a curse, that he could imagine. Outsider resets all damage received, except death. The demon said that was probably why he had survived until now. It was practically a deceitful blessing. If you put it that way, then this blessing is more like a curse than a blessing. Because no matter how much experience you gain, as long as your state resets, you can never level up. But why are you so strong? Kong Hansu thought about it. It really did not make much sense. At this moment, the god beside him let out a silent sigh. She was quietly reflecting on the past. The scene shifted, and Cogmos's legs had fully recovered. Kong Hansu was surprised. He had not expected the other to be able to hide his feet. Cogmos said it was because they were about to enter a city, and needed to act low-key. Kong Hansu thought the other really was smarter than the werewolves. But how far was that number 2 city he mentioned, exactly? Meanwhile, a carriage was racing along, having been targeted by a band of orcs. The soldiers rose up to fight back. The orcs said that a mere bunch of skinny pigs actually dared to provoke orcs. How damnable. Not far away, Kong Hansu was watching all of this. Cogmos asked if he was not going to help them. Kong Hansu decided to watch for now. After all, he was not yet able to trust everyone in this world. Elsewhere, the orcs surrounded the carriage. Suddenly, they seemed to catch the scent of women. Just then, 2 women stepped down from the carriage and immediately launched an attack on the orcs. They felled them to the ground in an instant. Kong Hansu thought this was really boring. Cogmos asked if he was not interested in keeping his own kind alive. Kong Hansu said it was not that, he just regretted losing a chance for revenge. And these women seemed to be elites of this world. If he could get close to people like that, surviving in the other world would become much easier. Then Kong Hansu shouted up at the sky. He said there was an extremely pretty so here. Kong Hansu thought that because of the hero's curse, humans would not understand what he was saying. But the orcs were different. At that moment, Cogmos still did not understand why he was doing this. Kong Hansu said that the right amount of danger would make the whole thing very interesting. In an instant, tens of thousands of orcs came swarming in, scaring them so badly they froze on the spot. Even Cogmos had not expected that he could use the curse to call orcs. Kong Hansu said, "Now let's help them." At this moment, the god said he should just let them die. Kong Hansu said, "Please understand me just this once, god of outsiders." On the other side, they had already been surrounded. Kong Hansu thought he should have waited a bit longer before coming over. The orcs demanded to know who this skinny pig was. Kong Hansu said he was merely a passing apostle of the god. Then an orc brought a blade down with a slash. Kong Hansu leapt aside in an instant, thinking the orcs' reactions were all the same. Next, they launched a fierce assault on Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu could already see through their movements with perfect clarity. At this moment, Cogmos warned Kong Hansu to be careful. The next second, a red orc lunged at him, only to be easily blocked by Kong Hansu. Cogmos questioned how he could let his guard down in the middle of a fight. Then Kong Hansu punched straight through him on the spot. He said that charging at him out of nowhere had really startled him. Kong Hansu asked what it was he had just told him to watch out for. Cogmos said to just pretend he had not said anything. But the orc before him had suddenly turned red. Was it the same ability as the werewolves? Kong Hansu felt he should observe him a bit. Meanwhile, the soldiers expressed their thanks to Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu could more or less understand a few phrases, because he had tried hard to study during his conversations with Cogmos. At this moment, the god said this was not her way. She proposed that Kong Hansu should kill them all. But Kong Hansu asked the god to bear with him for a bit. Next, Kong Hansu tossed the red orc's severed hand toward the orcs. "Those who can turn into red orcs, raise your hands, and if you can't, then forget it." The scene shifted, and Kong Hansu cut down all the orcs before him. Cogmos questioned whether this was a good idea. Look at them. They all wore looks of fear on their faces. Kong Hansu asked if he had gone too far. "Well, think of something." Then Cogmos stepped forward a bit and introduced himself as the mage Cogmos. He was the swordsman Kong Hansu. From his unusual name, it was not hard to tell he did not understand the Western language. One of the women said that he bore the hero's curse. That's true, but he also has a C-rank elf blessing. You know, even those who marry an elf are only level 1, so you can imagine how highly the elves value him. Kong Hansu thought that the elf taking his first kiss actually turned out to be good for him. But the misunderstandings were all that damned goddess's fault. Then Cogmos began translating. The woman said she was very sorry, and should not have doubted their savior. Kong Hansu sighed that having someone to translate was wonderful. Was he finally going to earn others' trust? At this moment, the god expressed her displeasure, and said that betraying the god's apostle would lead only to death. Kong Hansu thought that gaining others' trust was not so easy after all. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu sat alone by the campfire, telling the god that it had all turned out like this because of his goodwill. Although the god was no longer angry, he should have felt happy. But because of this deceptive blessing, as long as all states were reset, it would be forever impossible to level up. At this moment, a woman approached from the front. Kong Hansu thought he remembered her name was Julia, a young noble lady in the other world. But the translator had gone to sleep. What should he do? She pulled out a small dagger, imbued it with a blue aura, then motioned for Kong Hansu to show his as well. Kong Hansu said, "Then watch closely." He extended his index finger, and a red aura appeared before their eyes. This scene left Julia utterly stunned. But then she seemed to think of something, and immediately dropped to her knees before Kong Hansu. He could not understand Julia's action at all. He even thought she disliked the aura being too small, so he set it onto the dagger. But unexpectedly, Julia turned and left, leaving Kong Hansu completely baffled. He thought that women's thoughts were truly unfathomable. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu asked, "So these are hunters hired by the women?" Cogmos said of course. At this moment, a soldier asked why Kong Hansu was so strong despite being only level 1. Was there some special training method? Cogmos translated for him, saying that in fact he did not have to answer, since it was a presumptuous question to begin with. A hunter's body is everything. When it comes to questions like that, they will be extremely thick-skinned. Kong Hansu asked if he meant hunters were a bit shameless. Cogmos said not to misunderstand him, they were just trying hard to survive. Kong Hansu asked why they wanted to be hunters, then Cogmos explained that when you have the hunter's blessing, you can gain experience by completing quests. Upon hearing the way to gain experience, he suddenly realized this method was not covered by that curse. The only things blocking his experience gain were hunting and achievements. In other words, he could gain experience through other means. Cogmos was puzzled as to what he was talking about. Kong Hansu excitedly said he wanted to become a hunter. What should he do? He had finally found a way to get stronger. The scene shifted, and Kong Hansu seemed very happy to have arrived in the city. But the next second, he felt utterly disgusted, because the place reeked with a stench. Cogmos said that was for sure. During transport, going days without bathing was only natural. And Kong Hansu had no right to talk, since he himself was covered in the orc's bloody stench. Kong Hansu said that was a bit hurtful. Cogmos said he had no right to say that. Come to think of it, the moment we entered the city, the hunters all disappeared. Cogmos said there was no need to worry about them at all. They had just gone off to amuse themselves. Kong Hansu was surprised there were even fruits in the other world. Cogmos said he would not feel hunger anyway. But before he ate, he should consider the two noble ladies. True enough. And to better repay Kong Hansu, they suggested staying at the same inn. Kong Hansu said he had no objection, but the god was very displeased. Cogmos asked when they would go to the Hunters Guild. He added, but before that, we should take a bath first. The scene shifted, and a slime was slurping over the clothes. Kong Hansu was excited that it could remove dust from clothes. He liked this thing. Cogmos warned him not to get any bad ideas. For now, he should put it down and go get changed. As gentlemen, they should be waiting in advance before the ladies arrived. And just in case, he had prepared his clothes for him as well. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu wondered if it was really necessary to change outfits. And looking at Cogmos, who was flirting in front of him, he thought he really wished he would get punished. Meanwhile, the two ladies arrived at the destination. Leisha apologized for keeping them waiting. Then Cogmos acted as interpreter, saying it was fine, they had just arrived as well, even though they had clearly been waiting a long time. After that, Kong Hansu said he wanted to eat first, and Cogmos related. But Leisha said the meal could wait. They could first go where Kong Hansu wanted to go. Kong Hansu thought it seemed there were good people in the other world as well. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu thought, damn, he had not expected to be stumped by a piece of paper. If only he had learned more characters. But Cogmos took the opportunity to mock him. He said not to feel embarrassed. There were hunters everywhere who could not even write their own names. He just had to copy it like this. But because of the hero's curse, even copying while looking felt difficult. A moment later, Kong Hansu finally signed his own name. Then a purple glow rippled across the window, and a D-rank hunter's blessing was added. Cogmos said his first evaluation was D-rank. He should properly thank those two ladies. They had staked their own rank to vouch for his ability. A moment later, they came outside, and Leisha handed Kong Hansu a sheet. He said this was his first quest, kill orcs. It was a quest to curb their breeding by reducing their numbers. His reward would depend on how many orc noses he brought back. Kong Hansu was excited. This was awesome. Not to mention having these two ladies as bait. At this moment, the god asked curiously whether this would be another slaughter. Kong Hansu said of course not. This time, it would be a catastrophe. The scene shifted. Julia was killing an orc, but was pinned to the ground by it. Just then, a fireball shot in and felled it in an instant, but it did not seem to have inflicted serious damage. At that moment, another orc was thrown over, killing it on the spot. Leisha thought she had seen all kinds of elite hunters, but she had never seen anyone as exceptional as Kong Hansu. He was madly cutting down orcs, like a war god returned from hell. A moment later, seeing Kong Hansu lost in the thrill of it, Leisha asked Kong Hansu to take a short break. At that moment, Kong Hansu froze in place. Cogmos said he would tell his friend to rest a bit. She sighed and said then she would leave it to him. Why is he so energetic? He has wiped out so many orcs and has not even broken a sweat. Kong Hansu said he was surprised she was the first to say she was tired. Julia said he should not pretend. She could see his legs shaking. But he really is impressive. Leisha said that is right, though he said it was thanks to her blessing. Julia said no, she meant his swordsmanship. You might not see it as a mage, but the sword style he uses is extremely insane. The slightest mistake would destroy the user. And he uses such a dangerous sword style all day long. Leisha was shocked. How could that be? Julia said she was not too sure either, but could only conclude he was a genius. Meanwhile, Cogmos urged Kong Hansu that he needed to rest for a while. So Kong Hansu picked up a book and started studying. At this moment, Julia said she had already reached level 15. Leisha thought their gap was growing wider. This is because of this blessing. Student, the higher the rank, the easier it is to level up. The higher your level, the better grades you can achieve. Conversely, if your rank drops, you lose the benefits you had. Leisha, my goal this time will be B rank. Leisha asked whether that would not be too much of a stretch. Julia said it would be hard if it were just the two of them, but this time was different. That Kong Hansu looks like he's just doing the quest, but he's actually paying close attention to their safety. Leisha remarked that she had really been observing him closely. At this moment, Kong Hansu snapped his book shut. He finished studying that fast? He suddenly shouted, "You're stronger than me, you guys go first." At once, silence fell all around. Leisha thought that although this person was a bit silly, he had successfully piqued her curiosity. But I should teach him how to talk first. Meanwhile, the Sanctus discovered Kong Hansu's backpack. I'm giving you 3 days to find out whose backpack this is, but don't let any student find out. But the very existence of this backpack is clearly the goddess's mistake. Does even that goddess make mistakes? Just then, a report came from her subordinates. There had been a mass death incident in a hunter village, and the local residents believed an otherworlder had returned for revenge. The Sanctus wondered if it was that hero. Pass on my order, investigate this otherworlder's identity thoroughly. On the other side, Kong Hansu was sitting silently by the campfire, and the companions by his side had all fallen asleep. Kong Hansu suddenly pulled out a book. He had to learn this language. At this moment, the god was looking with great interest at the pictures in the book. Kong Hansu asked whether she liked this illustration. The god said she liked it very much. Kong Hansu asked about the other gods. The god said she did not know. Kong Hansu said he needed to know whether there were other gods nearby, so he could avoid running into them. The god raised a hand and pointed, indicating that most gods were in that direction. Is that the area around the temple Kogmos mentioned? There should be the evil goddesses Sanctus and her underlings there. Looks like we need to pick up the pace. With our current lack of strength, we should avoid encountering them as much as possible. At this moment, the god was noisily insisting on flipping through the book. Kong Hansu gently closed it. Next time. We've already been surrounded by humans. Disturbing a god's pleasure, they should be punished. Then Kong Hansu woke Kogmos and signaled for silence. We're surrounded by humans. Then Kong Hansu woke the two women as well. At that moment, countless flames lit up in the grass, and people slowly emerged from it. The leading chief stepped forward, and Kong Hansu asked what he was saying. Kogmos explained that he wanted them to hand over all the loot from the orcs in that area. He also said the two men would definitely die, but if the noble ladies surrendered they would be spared. Kong Hansu thought, who do these guys think they are looking down on? Being transported to another world was infuriating enough to begin with. Now he still had to suffer discrimination. I'm definitely going to punish them hard. But there were even more people on the other side than Kong Hansu had imagined. If he had to protect the two ladies in the fight, it would be very difficult. Looks like I can only use this method. Kong Hansu shouted at them. There's a very pretty so here. And the next second, they launched their attack. Kong Hansu thought this was a great opportunity. He then stepped forward and slashed at the leader, knocking him back on the spot. Before they could react, a group of orcs joined the battle. Kong Hansu smiled with a devilish curl of his lip. Now was the time to gain double experience. Kong Hansu flickered past in an instant. These people were all too weak. At this moment, a group of people launched an attack at Kong Hansu. With just a light swing of his sword, he cut them down on the spot. Then the leader took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack, slashing and striking Kong Hansu on the spot. Kong Hansu thought it was such a pity, this was his favorite cloak. And under his incredulous gaze, Kong Hansu punched straight through the leader on the spot. Now let me see. The mage and the swordsman are both doing pretty well. Everyone's quite busy. At this moment, the god said she just wanted to finish quickly and then read the book. The scene shifted. Under everyone's astonished gazes, Kong Hansu returned to the city carrying a big sack of orc noses. Kong Hansu asked if this much was enough. If not for them, he could have gotten more. Kogmos asked whether he was not afraid they would die from exhaustion. Kong Hansu said these were their proof of completing the quest. Kogmos relayed that they were very grateful to him. Because hunting together with him, they had each gone up 2 full levels. And he had also raised his own level thanks to him. Really, thank you so much. Kong Hansu thought that even this demon was level 20. Let him see how much experience he himself had gained. Kong Hansu was shocked to see it was actually level 1. What's going on? At this moment, the god guiltily looked off to the side. Could it be because, before life had even appeared, the outsider god had already been born into this world? Then one day, life discovered her and called her a god. They yearned for the god's help. Because life needed the god's help, from then on more and more gods began to appear. With their favor, life made progress. But life could not accept the existence of different races, so the struggles began. As time passed, one day the god found a dying man. The god asked if he wanted to live. The man desperately wished to live, so the god agreed and gave him help. With the god's help, the man reverted to an infant state. The god found a family for him and felt proud of all this. As time went by, when the god came to the village again, the baby had already become a youth. The god happily asked whether he still needed help, but in return she got a stream of abuse. "You ruined everything for me. I lost my beloved, all because you turned me into a baby." And the god could only apologize to him, then hurriedly left. She did not understand what she had done wrong. She had only wanted to help humans. Later, more and more humans asked the god for help, and the god responded to them all. But without exception, they all complained about the god, and the god truly could not understand it. Hundreds more years passed, and the world underwent earth-shaking changes. So the gods began to set new rules: hero, demon king, curses, blessings. All the gods adapted to these rules, except for her, the outsider god. But one day, the god again encountered a plea for help, and asked whether he wanted to live even if it meant losing everything. The man gave an affirmative answer. The outsider god was very happy, because someone needed her help. With the descent of a beam of green light, the man instantly recovered his condition. But at that moment, he noticed his level had reverted to level 1. The outsider god said she had reminded him. But the man said that as long as he was alive, that was enough. As for his level, he would just start again from level 1. But later, he discovered that because of this blessing he could not level up at all. The man said that although the god had saved him, he should not complain about her. But he still wanted to give her a piece of advice. Please do not ever give anyone a blessing again, because this is a curse even more terrifying than taking a life. At that, the outsider god realized she had no reason to exist at all, because no one would need her. Until the day Kong Hansu's call awakened her again. She once more found a boy on the brink of death, a boy bearing the hero's curse. Out of curiosity, the outsider god saved him. To prevent him from resenting her after discovering the truth, she changed the blessing's name to outsider. The god guessed that Kong Hansu might already have learned the truth. "This is terrible. I shouldn't have wasted time dealing with those orcs." The god was stunned and asked whether he was not angry. Kong Hansu was shouting that he was going to buy a new book. At this moment, the god was silently praying. Kong Hansu asked if she was praying for him to die quietly again. The god said of course not. Kong Hansu asked what she was praying for. Then, the god said that was a secret. The scene shifted, and they arrived at the library. Because he could not raise his level, Kong Hansu wanted to find a powerful weapon. Kogmo said he seemed to be looking at nothing but fairy tales, and you would not find weapons that way. And when the noble ladies left, they had said it might be possible to find treasure in the sea. Then what about ruins preserved until now because they were too dangerous? Doesn't that sound interesting? Kogmo's reminded him that those ruins were all guarded by this country's knights. Kong Hansu asked if they were strong. Kogmo said he could guarantee they were stronger than he was right now. Then Kong Hansu went out to a grassland to get some air, thinking, was it really impossible to level up? I thought knights were just bluffers. Is there truly no way? Just then, a voice drew Kong Hansu's attention. "Damn skinny pig. Hand over everything you've got." Kong Hansu said he was in a very bad mood, and told the orc to disappear from his sight at once. Then the orc launched an attack at him. Kong Hansu thought he was asking for it. Kong Hansu slammed a fist into the orc's chest. "You have no idea how painful it is to lose your dreams. There aren't even ruins to explore. Without dreams and hope in this other world, what am I supposed to do?" Kong Hansu vented his frustration with punch after punch. The orc said there were ruins. Kong Hansu froze on the spot. "I know where the ruins are, so please stop hitting me. There's a huge orc ruin nearby. Why didn't you say so earlier? Dear friend, could you take me to the ruins?" The orc led Kong Hansu forward slowly. Kong Hansu asked whether that ruin had existed for a long time. The orc said all he knew was that the ruin had been there since before he was born. "It will guide you where to go, but someone as strong as you can't enter." A moment later, they reached their destination. But there was nothing in front of them. The next second, a ruin suddenly appeared before their eyes. At that moment, the orc was rejoicing that he had finally shaken off that damn skinny pig. Kong Hansu marveled that it was his first time seeing ruins on such a scale. The orc was shocked. "How was he here? Wasn't it you who brought me in?" The orc said only those below level 9 could enter here. Kong Hansu said then there was no problem, because his level was 1. Just then, several arrows flew in, and Kong Hansu sidestepped to evade them. "What's going on? A skinny pig actually entered our territory? Could this be an orc village?" The orcs kept jeering at Kong Hansu. "Careful. This Kong Hansu isn't simple. He's very powerful. Orcs, could you make way?" "Forget it. I'll just cut my way through." Kong Hansu rose into the air. The orcs were shocked that this skinny pig could actually fly. At this moment, the god was silently praying for 100,000 orcs. Then waves of orc screams followed. The scene shifted. The orcs were searching for traces of Kong Hansu. In less than a moment, Kong Hansu had already taken out more than half the orcs. Kong Hansu thought, this is endless. Just how many orcs are there? but all the exits were sealed. How was he supposed to get out? Just then, the orc spotted him and launched an attack on him. How disgusting. But the orc's chasing after him ended up stuck inside the walls. Now let's see who laughs last. Then waves of orc screams rang out. So you look down on me for being level 1. Looks like you're nothing special either. Let me see what changes in my status. Massacre has upgraded to C rank. Kong Hansu wondered if this was an entirely new curse. Massacre. The probability that those you've slain will appear in your dreams increases. The nightmares will continue until the dead depart or submit. Kong Hansu thought, did this mean the orcs he killed would bully him in his dreams? Though you can avoid sleeping, don't you think adding yet another curse when it upgrades is going too far? I didn't expect the price of saving humans to be a curse. However, the man could not understand what they were saying. Damn, I should have brought Cogmos. You over there, the orc playing dead, I know you're still alive. Do you know how to get out? The orc said the ruin's entrance and exit were different, and the only exit was in the middle of the ruin. Then Kong Hansu headed to the center of the ruin, thinking, is this the exit he was talking about? But there was nothing special about it. Did he need to use magic to get out? Just then, a beam of green light descended. Was it you who destroyed our home? Answer me. Kong Hansu thought, was this also an orc? What a dramatic entrance. Answer my question, human. Kong Hansu wondered whether this orc was even stronger than he was now. Yes, it was me. Because they blocked my path. The guardian deity questioned whether he had killed 300,000 orcs for that reason. Kong Hansu said so there were 300,000. It had taken him quite a bit of time. The guardian said he was the protector of this ruin and the orcs. No human who knew the ruin's secret could be allowed to leave alive. Kong Hansu said excitedly that so he was the guardian. So much the better. Since there was a guardian here, it meant there was treasure. Kong Hansu instantly launched an attack at him. Two powerful forces collided, and Kong Hansu realized he was completely different from the other orcs. The next second, Kong Hansu's arm was chopped off on the spot, and the guardian said Kong Hansu was nothing much after all. Kong Hansu narrowly avoided a fatal blow. You're impressive, managing to dodge a lethal strike in an instant. He had not expected a single clash to inflict such damage on himself. But don't think this is over. Kong Hansu thought what a formidable guardian. His severed hand instantly returned to normal. The guardian was shocked. Was he immortal? Kong Hansu said that was one way to put it. The guardian said it did not matter, because he would trap him to death in this ruin. Big talk, but what should I do now? Meanwhile, the Sanctus learned about Kong Hansu from the students. A human who refused to become a hero, and was sent back to Earth by the goddess. But if it became known that this person was not actually sent back to Earth, then the hero's trust in the gods would plummet. At this moment, a benevolent god was silently watching the Sanctus. Why is the matter still not settled? The Sanctus was shocked. It was actually the goddess herself. The Sanctus apologized, goddess of heroes. Because of the blessing, I have the whereabouts of all the heroes, but Kong Hansu is the only one I cannot find. Could it be that another god is deliberately? However, what matters most right now is to keep anyone from discovering this. At this moment, the outsider god was silently watching all of this. After learning of their plan, she quietly took her leave. Elsewhere, Kong Hansu, fighting the guardian deity, fell once again. The guardian deity questioned how long he intended to keep struggling. You're asking how long for yourself? Why, of course until he dies. You damn orc. The next second, Kong Hansu launched another attack, but was felled by a single spear strike. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu was studying his attack method. Is this how I should move in this area? Just then, a greeting came from behind. Hello. It turned out to be Bruce. They were the humans Kong Hansu had saved from the orcs, and he was now their temporary leader. Kong Hansu asked if he needed something. He proceeded to enthusiastically introduce women to Kong Hansu, but Kong Hansu scared him off in one go. Kong Hansu said he did not need to pay attention to what he said. He would handle things himself now. Then Kong Hansu went right back to studying his attack method on his own. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu thought this was about right. His strategy against the guardian deity was complete. And at that moment, Kong Hansu noticed the woman. Had she been sleeping here all night? The god said not to sneak peeks at her anymore. The pressing matter is to defeat the guardian deity first. Honored outsider god, please watch closely. Kong Hansu flashed forward and unleashed countless hits. The entire sequence executed in one seamless motion. The outsider god was very surprised. Kong Hansu said this was a sword style he grasped yesterday. How is it, impressive or not? As long as he had this sword style, he could bully that damn guardian deity. Just then, Kong Hansu's status window gave off waves of purple light, and his blessing rose in rank. Outsider's blessing rose from F to E. The blessing rank increased. Thank you, esteemed outsider god. But the hero's curse rose from E to C. The rise in the curse's rank meant that the damned goddess had already discovered he was still alive. Looks like we don't have time to waste here. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu once again stood before the guardian deity. He said that this time he would not run. The guardian deity said he would trust him this once. Tom, I will show you around the site. There aren't any traps waiting up ahead for me, are there? The guardian deity said a great warrior disdains such tricks. Please follow me. But Kong Hansu was very surprised, and asked what this place was and why it was so vast. The guardian deity explained this was an ancient training ground for cultivating heroes. Kong Hansu asked if they were orc heroes. The guardian said no. They were humans who had not been chosen by the gods. You humans were too arrogant, so we seized the opportunity to take this place, leaving only this ruin untouched. Kong Hansu asked why they left this ruin. The guardian deity said it was to restrict the free passage of the strong. But as long as he was here, their city could never be rebuilt. So you must die here. Big words from you. But before that, one more question. Is there any treasure here? The guardian deity said there were only starter weapons prepared for heroes here. Kong Hansu wondered whether that damned goddess could be dealt with using starter weapons. Just then, the orc launched a sudden attack. Kong Hansu unleashed his newly created sword style. A silhouette flashed by, and countless strikes followed. The guardian deity was amazed. He had achieved this level in just a single day. Wait, is he searching for the exit? I will never let you leave here alive. Die. Kong Hansu ducked to evade. He had been fixated on that spot since yesterday. He sent him flying with a single kick. In an instant, a hole opened behind the orc, and then it sucked him in. So this was the exit. How nice to solve the problem without fighting, since he never thought he could beat him. Since he could not level up anyway, there was no need to work that hard. All he needed was to get the treasure. The scene shifted. The god excitedly pointed to a spot, saying the treasure was right there. Kong Hansu was doubtful. Could there really be treasure in a place this desolate? He approached, half believing, half doubting. Was this the so-called treasure? He picked up a longsword, and the god said it was an entry-level holy sword. A very ordinary longsword, but covered in a sacred aura. Kong Hansu wondered why a holy sword would be tossed here. The god said only heroes could lift a holy sword. Then the holy sword in Kong Hansu's hand grew unbearably heavy. What was going on? Was it because he was a cursed hero? Kong Hansu immediately snapped the longsword in two. Since he could not use it, other heroes could forget about using it too. Then he proceeded to break the nearby holy swords on the spot. Suddenly, Kong Hansu found that the holy sword in his hand was not heavy. The god explained that it was a defective product. Kong Hansu broke all the holy swords on the spot. Now there's only this one sword left, so it's not a defective product anymore, right? The god expressed admiration for his logic. But then Kong Hansu received a curse from the holy sword. Kong Hansu thought, all he did was snap a few junk swords. Did he really deserve this curse? Holy sword, the maker's blood and tears have strengthened all the holy swords around you. You will find it much harder to destroy them. Is this really a curse, actually strengthening a defective product? But he thought the maker probably never imagined a hero would damage a holy sword. Now there was only a single holy sword strengthened by a curse. Next, let's get out of here first. Although I remember the exit is here, how should I open it? Damned human. Kong Hansu looked to the side in puzzlement, and saw a figure charging straight at him. It was the guardian deity back again. But why had he gotten so much thinner? Looks like you lost most of your power after leaving the ruin. But I won't obediently let you return here. The orc leapt into the air. Out of my way. Kong Hansu thought this was a good chance to test the holy sword's power. He slowly drew the holy sword, and with a single horizontal cut, he severed his left arm on the spot. Kong Hansu said it looked like this time it was the other side's turn to lose an arm. Damn human. Everything I've lost, along with the lives of 300,000 of my kin, today will be repaid with your life. Then I'll be waiting and watching. Then Kong Hansu swung with all his might and cut him down on the spot. Looks like over this single day, your strength hasn't improved at all. And at this moment, the god said it was not over yet. The orc instantly returned to his original form. But before he could speak, Kong Hansu pinned him to the ground. This should be the end, right? But in the next second, the orc turned into liquid and wrapped around Kong Hansu's hand. Kong Hansu was shocked. What was going on? Right, if I throw him into the exit in this state, he'll definitely die. But then the orc immediately surrendered, saying he would do anything as long as he was not thrown out of the ruin. Kong Hansu asked if he could do anything. Of course. You want to leave, right? I can move the ruined entrance and exit to around the holy sword. But only a hero can lift the holy sword. Kong Hansu asked if he meant this. Yes, that's it. You're actually a hero. Show me your status window. Then the window displayed Green Guardian. Kong Hansu wondered why he had the hero's curse. The orc explained it was because killing a hero would earn you that curse. And what is the ruin's curse? Ruin. You will be bound here forever. Any act that damages the ruin is forbidden. It's like a contract. Here I can become immortal, but I will become the final opponent to test novice heroes. So you're not the guardian? The orc said he was only the orc's guardian, protecting their homeland. But I still lost. Seeing the orc sniffling and crying, Kong Hansu suddenly thought of Cogmos. Honored hero, aren't you leaving here yet? Didn't you say you wouldn't let me leave here? No, I hope you can leave as soon as possible. Then I demand to take that group of people with me. The orc said that although humans who knew about the ruin could not be allowed to leave, he could not refuse the honored hero's request. Then Kong Hansu shouted, "We're going home." At that moment, an exit suddenly appeared before them. Kong Hansu had a sense of déjà vu. Could something be about to go wrong again? Esteemed outsider god, please help me check the exit. But the god expressed displeasure at this. Please show a little mercy to your pitiful apostle. The god happily responded, saying it would be allowed this once, but not again. The humans beside him looked worried. The god said the orc was very safe. Kong Hansu asked how he should return here. The orc said he only needed to speak to the holy sword. He would hear it. Then I'll trust you this once. Then a beam of golden light flared, and when Kong Hansu opened his eyes again, he found himself in an unfamiliar environment. Then Kong Hansu noticed the holy sword hanging on the wall. Wait, you all go back. Outsider god, are you sure this place is safe? The god said it was safe for now. Kong Hansu asked if she meant it would become dangerous later. It would be very dangerous. Then should we leave here first? But what is that? Why would this be in a place like this? Meanwhile, the saintess arrived at the underground prison in the hunter's village. She said she was here to investigate the massacre in the hunter's village. I heard a female elf counselor is imprisoned here. Is that true? Absolutely true, Lady Saintess. The saintess thought to herself that this was quite a mess. The flame guardian Celeblis, although her combat power was not strong, the beasts she reared were very strong. Especially the phoenix that made her the flame guardian. We cannot tolerate acts that incite conflict between humans and elves. However, the victim said she would not pursue the matter further. The saintess asked what that outsider actually looked like. The villager said that person was already dead. I asked what he looked like. The villager said he had short hair, and looked quite similar to the visiting hero. Alright, I understand. Then the saintess dismissed the villagers. Lady Saintess, that undead is definitely him. Although we don't know how he managed to survive. Could he have received a god's blessing? The saintess said that even with a god's blessing, someone at level 1 could not possibly defeat a werewolf. And the two heroes who died before are the best example. But all the gods are with us, then who gave him a blessing? But if the owner of the backpack and the undead are the same person, won't we be in great danger once the heroes learn the truth? The saintess said it did not matter. The other heroes were still within her control. At this moment, the goddess said she felt very uneasy. Don't worry, at least you haven't been discovered yet. And all information related to him has been cleaned up completely. Immediately, another message came in. News of the elimination match seemed to have leaked. The saintess said she already knew. Didn't this make things even more interesting? However, that hero named Jang Mian had been unusually active lately, and she was very much looking forward to her performance. Elsewhere, Kong Hansu returned to the city carrying a big sack of spoils. That damn orc actually sent me to such a dangerous place. Hogmos asked when he had come back, while Kong Hansu was curious why Hogmos had not left. Hogmos said he had meant to leave yesterday, but missed the timing because someone showed up. Kong Hansu asked if he had run into the saintess. Hogmos said how could that be? If he met the saintess, he would already be dead. He is Arceus, the first heir to the throne of the Knight's Kingdom, and ranks 3rd in strength in the entire kingdom. And the noble ladies told me the prince wants to meet you. You must not say anything reckless, or my demon identity will be exposed very quickly. He's a paladin, because he's under the saintess's protection. Kong Hansu said this had nothing to do with him. Didn't I say the prince wants to meet me? And you can't even communicate with them. Just then, a rapid knocking at the door interrupted their conversation, and the two noble ladies came walking straight in. Cogmos had not even informed them. It seemed they were very concerned about Kong Hansu. At this moment, the god expressed Kong Hansu's displeasure. Kong Hansu wondered if they had come to ask him to help them level up. The noble ladies said they had missed him very much. Cogmos relayed that they thought he had left without saying goodbye, and felt very upset. But why did you get another curse? Kong Hansu said it was because he went hunting, and even entered a ruin. I absolutely have to separate from you in this city, otherwise we'll never be able to get married. As for translation, we can just buy a slave who's fluent in languages. The scene shifted. The two noble ladies brought Kong Hansu to the prince's residence. They saw a man standing before the window. So you've arrived already? Kong Hansu. Kong Hansu thought to himself that this guy was ridiculously handsome. The prince thanked him for the compliment, and said he had very much wanted to meet him. The two ladies praised you to the skies. Kong Hansu was surprised that the other could speak his language. The prince explained it was a language blessing. As long as one is a prince, one can communicate with all species. Only then did Kong Hansu realize he was the Prince Cogmos had mentioned. The prince said that although he was a prince, Kong Hansu did not need to be overly formal. Then the prince bowed to Kong Hansu. You not only defeated the orc tribe, you even saved the two noble ladies. For that I offer my deepest thanks. Kong Hansu said it was simply what he ought to do. Then the prince changed the subject. However, I'm very curious about your strength, so I earnestly ask that you spar with me. Kong Hansu asked if he meant right now. The prince said of course not. Let's eat and talk. They watched Kong Hansu wolfing down the food. The prince asked what was going on with the hero's curse on him. Kong Hansu asked whether he believed that he had once saved an elf from a hero. So that's the origin of the elf's blessing? But do you still remember what that hero looked like? Kong Hansu said he was sorry. He had struck him in the face right at the start, so he did not remember. The prince said it was fine. A little investigation would reveal it soon enough. Although I don't know what may happen, I offer my apologies to that friend. By the way, the orcs on the plains have lately all but vanished. Do you know the reason for this? Could it be because I killed too many orcs? The prince said of course not. An individual's power is limited. I was the one who wiped them out. Hearing this, the ladies were instantly stunned, while only Kong Hansu calmly replied, maybe it was him. The prince said this was truly interesting. He wanted to understand Kong Hansu more and more. The scene shifted to outside the house, and the prince said they would end tonight's gathering with a spar. However, I'm very curious, just how strong are you at level 1? Thank you for giving me this chance to spar. Kong Hansu said it was nothing remarkable. But to be safe, he decided not to reveal the holy sword. The prince said this was actually an elven treasured sword. I'm just giving a little demonstration. If we bring out weapons for a simple match, that would be a bit much, so let's use this. A red aura enveloped his fingertip, and this drew shocked looks from everyone. The prince was extremely surprised. The technique he had mastered only after injuring himself countless times was used so effortlessly by the other party. Kong Hansu said it was actually the same for him. He's only level 1, so why is his strength so great? The prince decided to present his spare longsword to him as a gift. I'll allow you to make the first move. Kong Hansu said he would gladly accept. As a return gesture, he decided to use his full power as well. Kong Hansu raised the longsword in one hand, and a surge of red power began to gather. Take this. With a single slash from Kong Hansu, a column of red energy shot into the sky, instantly causing a massive shockwave. Kong Hansu thought, crap, I think I overdid it. That looks like an exit. I should run first and talk later. I'm really very sorry. Why was my reaction so slow? Under his power, I actually felt so helpless. Kong Hansu is truly an interesting fellow. At this time, the two ladies asked if the prince was alright. The prince said he was fine. But the world is truly vast. He seemed quite shocked too, and immediately ran off. Perhaps he was afraid of hurting me. But I want to apologize to him. Would you be willing to help me? He should be at the inn. We'll go back and check first, and inform you shortly. The prince seemed to have rediscovered the excitement of when he first learned the sword. Meanwhile, the Sanctus discovered that someone had been in her room. There's definitely an intruder here. You all go out first. No one comes in without my permission. But the next second, the Sanctus froze on the spot. For the room was already empty of everything. Even the holy sword hanging on the wall was nowhere to be seen. The Sanctus thought the other things were one thing. But even the evidence of the goddess's lies had disappeared. Then the Sanctus summoned the goddess, and said that Kong Hansu's backpack was missing. Someone had entered her room and taken it. You should have destroyed it earlier. The goddess was extremely displeased. What should we do now? The sages said they could only leave it to fate. That's your answer? The Sanctus said to stop asking what to do. How about you go look for it yourself? At this, the goddess left impatiently. Damn it, just one Kong Hansu already gives me a headache. Who will it be this time? Just then, the communication crystal by her side gave the Sanctus an idea. Perhaps I can seek help from the prince and the elf kingdom. The scene shifted. The Sanctus asked the prince how the investigation into the mass disappearance of orcs was going. Reporting the investigation status. The plan to have the heroes hunt orcs will likely be hard to implement, because the orcs currently show no sign of increasing. And I asked an orc, and he said their habitat had been occupied by demons. The Sanctus was shocked. Demons? Yes, but this information has not yet been verified. Then it seems we need to strengthen surveillance on the demons. Though I have a suggestion. Meanwhile, Kong Hansu hurried back to the inn in a panic. He thought he needed to leave as soon as possible. If he was caught, he would be executed on the spot. You said not to worry about me. Running away is easy for me. You actually went there? Damn, then what am I supposed to do? Kong Hansu muttered to the holy sword. Open the door, orc. The next second, a huge opening suddenly appeared before him. Cogmos was stunned. Is this advanced spatial magic? I thought you couldn't use magic. No time to explain. Hurry to the city's north gate. I won't wait long for you. Cogmos cursed. Damn bastard. Meanwhile, the Sanctus was surprised that there was actually a hero who attacked elves. They did not know his appearance or name, other than that he was wounded in the face. I do remember a hero named Ohan Wu. An annoying fellow. Could it be him? The prince said that to ensure this hero would not cause major trouble, he suggested assigning someone to keep watch. The Sanctus agreed. However, please compensate the commoners who were cursed a little. The hero's mistakes are the Sanctus's responsibility. Although I should do it myself, I'm in a hurry to go to the Elf Kingdom and can't spare the time. The prince said he understood, and that he would handle the compensation for her. After that, the Sanctus hurriedly left. The prince thought to himself that he rather wanted to make that Kong Hansu his subordinate, but weapons of this level probably would not cut it anymore. On the other side, Kong Hansu returned to the ruin through the opening. Then he told Bruce that he needed manpower to carry the goods behind him. "Hero, what's with these people? From now on, they'll help me carry the goods, so you can't kill them." The orc said this was not his personal warehouse. "Just remember to help get the stuff to the exit. It's the first time I felt angry at my own weakness. I'll take that as a compliment." The scene shifted. Cogmos was walking in the forest. Kong Hansu suddenly appeared behind him, startling Cogmos. Kong Hansu said they needed to get as far from the city as possible. Cogmos asked if it was because of that hero's curse. Kong Hansu said yes. "Then it seems we need to head north, so we can part ways sooner." Kong Hansu asked what was in the north. Cogmos explained that the largest slave market on the western continent was there. "We need to find you a slave who can translate." Kong Hansu had not expected that Cogmos would not secretly run away. "That's because you took my luggage, so I couldn't even get a horse." Then Kong Hansu pulled Cogmos into a hug. "What are you doing?" Kong Hansu said that this way they could reach the destination faster, right? "Unbelievable. I'm actually being held by a human." The scene shifted. The two were happily eating breakfast. "It's not as tasty as at the prince's, but it's passable." Cogmos had not expected that Kong Hansu could use cooking magic, too. Kong Hansu said that was only because he had seen too little. "All right, finish up and let's get moving." A moment later, they arrived at the largest slave market on the western continent. Kong Hansu sighed that it was truly a beautiful city. "But don't they need to inspect us?" Cogmos said that was because this city had huge foot traffic. If inspections were thorough, the city would collapse. "I won't run away for the time being, so can you return my luggage to me?" Kong Hansu said no way. He would return it only after helping himself find a slave. Then Kong Hansu shouted at the holy sword, "Please send the brown pouch over to me." Right after, the little pouch was actually teleported over. Cogmos wondered if this was a magic sword, but it looked like the sword was channeling the magic, not him using magic. "Could you let me take a closer look?" Cogmos snatched the holy sword and thought it looked like an ordinary sword. Immediately, countless bolts of lightning struck him directly. "Damn it, is this a holy sword?" Kong Hansu said he had not known this holy sword had an anti-theft function. Letting a demon touch a holy sword, knew it. If he handed me the sword that easily, he definitely had bad intentions. "But why can't you lift the holy sword?" Kong Hansu said it was a defective holy sword. "Then it seems to suit you well." "Say that again, I dare you." The scene shifted. Kong Hansu lamented that his dream had been shattered. He had wanted to be a hero who rescued slaves from merchants. Cogmos said he was truly boring. Could he think about something normal? "Come with me." In the slave market, there were 4 main types: humans, elves, dwarfs, and mermaids. But what affected their price was not skills, but level. "Come with me, I know a few places that sell high-grade slaves." The scene shifted to the inside of a room. The proprietor asked whether they needed guards or high-level slaves. Cogmos said they needed a slave with a language blessing. Level was not important. What mattered was the language blessing. But Kong Hansu said it would be best if the slave could travel with him. Cogmos thought to himself, did such a slave really exist? Then Cogmos conveyed Kong Hansu's words. After receiving the proprietor's affirmative reply, Cogmos was shocked that such a slave actually existed. Then they went upstairs. Kong Hansu asked why these slaves did not run away. Cogmos said it was because they had a slave's curse. "Just look at their status window and you'll know. Slave, all rights lost. Whenever an order from the master is disobeyed, an appropriate punishment will be inflicted." At this moment, the proprietor introduced someone, saying this was the slave they were looking for. Cogmos had not expected it to be a female demon. Truly unbelievable. After all, demons reduced to human slaves were extremely rare. Kong Hansu wore an "I knew it all along" expression. "Looks like this demon meets your conditions for marriage, right?" Cogmos immediately said he would buy that slave. Yearning with his empty pockets, he fell into thought. A moment later, Kong Hansu asked her why she had become a slave. The female demon said she had become a slave to prove her love to a man. What a splendid story. Cogmos could not help feeling sympathy for the female demon. But the female demon looked utterly disgusted. "Master, give the order to let me dispose of this vermin. He actually dared to pity me." Then Kong Hansu began thinking about where they should go next. The female demon wondered if he was not going to examine her carefully first. Kong Hansu said there was no need, because he had already seen everything through the status window. Immediately, Dialoka began trembling all over. Kong Hansu asked what was wrong. Dialoka said not to misunderstand. This was an effect brought on by the slave's curse. Cogmos said that if he dared to give her any strange orders, he definitely would not let him off. He was then given a thorough beating by Dialoka. Kong Hansu said, "How about we go out and look at other slaves?" The scene shifted. Because a few were cheap, Kang Hansu bought many slaves. He kept arranging for the slaves to haul the goods. At this moment, Kogmos pulled Kang Hansu aside and asked whether he was planning to leave now. Kang Hansu said no. He had changed his mind and wanted to travel with them. The next second, an arrow shot straight into Kogmos. Dialoka said that although she very much wanted to kill him, it seemed someone had acted before her. Attacked in broad daylight. What a wonderful world this is. Kang Hansu felled the ambusher with a single punch. But this caused a huge commotion. Before long, soldiers rushed over to arrest him. We should run for it now. You being a slave doesn't matter, but this demon mustn't be caught by them. Dialoka asked if she should kill him. Kang Hansu said they should escape first and see. The scene shifted to the outskirts. Dialoka asked Kogmos how long he was going to keep sleeping. You weakling. Kogmos said he had only been careless for a moment. Dialoka sneered. Is admitting your own weakness such a difficult thing? Kogmos was left speechless by the retort, and Kang Hansu sighed that it had truly been a busy day. Suddenly, Dialoka's magical hand struck out. But Kang Hansu caught it in one grab. You didn't think I had no defenses at all, did you? Damn it. Right after, another attack came from her. Kang Hansu countered with a punch. The next second, Dialoka's left hand actually broke on the spot. Dialoka could hardly believe it. Was the other really just a level 1 human? Kang Hansu said that if he were not, would she have let down her guard so easily? You're nothing more than a human. Then let me show you my true strength. Then came a fierce barrage. Even Dialoka was struggling to withstand it. But soon she seized an opening and launched her attack. Kang Hansu had not expected he was still careless. This would probably hurt, right? In an instant, Kang Hansu's left arm was wrenched off on the spot. Dialoka said that this degree of injury was meaningless to a demon. Hurry and give the order to release her restraints. Then she might consider helping treat his wound. However, Kang Hansu only gave a contemptuous smile. He said that this little bit of damage did not even sting. Then they saw Dialoka immediately regenerate her injuries. Since both sides could regenerate, they would fight until one side was beaten to death. Dialoka asked if that counted as an order. At this point, Kogmo said he wanted to help Dialoka, but he was knocked down by Kang Hansu with a single sword stroke. You bastard, actually siding with an outsider against your own. Dialoka thought this demon was impressive in his own way. He could make people hate him so much. She immediately launched an attack on Kogmos, but Kang Hansu raised a hand to block it. Dialoka said she hated traitors the most. But aren't you a traitor yourself? I'm just a slave. I never swore I would be loyal to you. Next, two massive forces crashed into each other. Dialoka found that her recovery speed could no longer keep up with the rate she was getting injured. Just what kind of thing is this Kang Hansu? Kang Hansu said they were only just getting started. Then he kicked toward Dialoka. Kang Hansu had not expected that she could take it quite well. Right after, Dialoka actually unfurled a pair of wings. Kang Hansu said he would kill her before she could take off. Unexpectedly, Dialoka planted a foot on his fist and leapt forcefully into the air. It looks like she's already reached her limit. Then this will be my final strike. At the same time, it would also be Dialoka's final strike. Just when Kang Hansu thought victory was in his grasp, he seemed to see something extraordinary. The next second, Kang Hansu took Dialoka's final blow head-on. When he came back to his senses, he realized he had lost. At that moment, the god was venting its displeasure at him. Dialoka said that if the master woke up, please trouble him to give her a new set of clothes. Then Kang Hansu gave her a set of clothes. Dialoka said that in fact she had lost this fight. You're really strong. If it had been that demon, I would have chopped him into 8 pieces long ago. Besides, I think you deliberately lost to me at the end. In that case, since you lost, shouldn't you pledge your loyalty to me? Pledge loyalty to a human? That's impossible. Just now, Dialoka had said she would not acknowledge that fellow as her master. That would be a lifelong disgrace to a demon. However, as compensation, she could give him a hug. Elsewhere, the Saintess was vexed over the orc's impending extinction. So you called me here just for this matter? Not entirely. There sat a female elf counselor before her. Since you mentioned the forest, I instead want to know what he is doing right now. So, you want me to find out who the culprit is? That's right. Can you do it? He's not the one I'm looking for, but this little matter is doable. This little one will help. With all due respect, does it really have that capability? This is a special slime. However, what clues can you provide? This is the scene of the incident. Please help me find the thief who broke into my room. The slime instantly turned golden. Its body blooming with light, then it gave a conclusion. The intruder escaped through the holy sword on the wall. Worst case, could it have been the hero? Looks like the Saintess has already realized who did it. Thanks to your help, what can I do for you? I plan to enter the Magic Academy, and hope to receive some support from Lady Saintess then. You want to go to the Magic Academy as a course instructor? Yes. Ever since I was imprisoned, I truly realized my lack of strength. I tried to gain experience through hunting, but found it didn't suit me at all. I hate fighting. So even after living for over 1,000 years, my level still remains at 12. But a teacher can share experience with me through blessing. For me, that's the best way. I understand. I'll do my best to help you. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu arrived in the city. I didn't expect Kogmo's really left. Just you wait. Before I become stronger, I absolutely won't come back. At this moment, the god urged him to simply abandon that female demon. She's nothing more than a talking female translation machine. To express its displeasure, the god chose to run away from home. It really ran off. Hey, outsider god, are you still there? Meanwhile, the god was silently watching all this. Suddenly, a notice at the side caught his eye. Elimination Tournament Champion Reward, Holy Sword. Outstanding contestants in the Elimination Tournament will gain the opportunity to enter the Magic Academy. The god immediately let his imagination run wild. Elsewhere, Kong Hansu arrived at an inn and stared at the outsider blessing on the wall for a long time. If the blessing is still here, it means the god hasn't abandoned us. A server came up to ask whether he needed help. He was so frightened by the massacre curse on Kong Hansu that he turned tail and ran. So it's because of this? I hated it at first, but now I'm kind of used to it. However, right now is exactly when those thieves are most active. Before I leave the city, I must settle my scores. Just then, the god tiptoed back again. You came back sooner than I expected. The god proudly announced that it had just completed a solitary journey. Yes, you're the greatest. But, outsider god, can you accompany me somewhere? The god asked curiously. Did you drive that female demon away? She's sleeping soundly. Then where exactly are we going? I think I should give those guys who ambushed me a proper farewell before departure. So, where are we going? I haven't decided yet. The god suggested he go to the academy. Why do I have to go to a place like that? After I take care of those people who ambushed me, we'll talk. The god immediately started throwing a tantrum, pestering him all the way to agree. Help me with something first, and then I'll consider it. If I help you, will you go to the academy? I will give it serious consideration. Then what do you want me to do? If you want to catch big fish, you have to prepare the bait first. The scene switched. Thank you for purchasing so many slaves at once. The god asked Kong Hansu whether he wanted to buy a few more. That's enough. These slaves are cheap, but their levels are all low. The god, however, felt that level was not important. What mattered was the heart. Suddenly, an arrow flew toward Kong Hansu, and he raised a hand and swatted it down. Your methods are too old-fashioned. Are you the ones who ambushed me during the day? A leader poked his head out, and then the whole squad revealed themselves. Are you the leader of this bunch? The leader leapt forward, preparing to attack. The god kept urging Kong Hansu to go to the academy on the side. I'm busy right now, let's talk about this later. The god hoped he would move a bit faster. Fine, I'll wrap this up quickly. Kong Hansu turned into a blur of black. His knife hand slashed through the enemy ranks again and again. In moments, only a single leader was left standing on the ground. Not running is a wise choice. I can let you go. As a result, the leader was so frightened that he turned and ran. Kong Hansu lifted his foot and kicked, knocking him out cold on the spot. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu dragged the entire band of thieves before the soldiers and exchanged them for a hefty bounty. A slime nearby caught his attention. Why aren't they disposing of that bone? Do slimes really not eat rare materials? It seems this bone is a bit special. The god once again urged him to hurry to the academy. What's so special about that place? Why do I have to go? You'll know when you get there. But I don't even know where the academy is. Just then, someone stopped him and spoke a few indistinct words. Could it be that the matter of me injuring the prince has been exposed? The god explained that the man just wanted to buy the bone in his hand. He said he wanted to give it to a friend at the academy. The god kept emphasizing the word academy, and Kong Hansu fell silent for a moment. You can have this bone, but on one condition. I also want to visit the academy. You want to go to the academy? The god waited with eager expectation for him to nod. The next second, I refuse. The god stomped his feet in anger, and Kong Hansu sensed something from his attitude. Does this really need to be discussed any further? At this moment, Dialoka was already standing at Kong Hansu's side. When did you get here? To leave me while I was still injured. You're too cold-blooded. When the knight discovered she was a demon, tensions flared and weapons were drawn. Yes. Dialoka, quickly translate for me. That demon is a slave? Why else would I be wearing this collar? The god began urging Kong Hansu again to talk to him about the academy. Seeing the discussion go nowhere, she simply turned on her heel and left. Where are you running off to again, outsider god? The knight said that under no circumstances could they be allowed into the academy. Suddenly, a terrifying aura swept in. The knight looked up at the sky, trembling all over. This is impossible. A massive dragon claw descended from the heavens. A dragon? Weak humans, disaster descends once more. This time, I will annihilate all the remaining heroes. No sooner had he spoken than the entire dragon froze in place. Why, has my level reverted to 1? Who did this? Kong Hansu chuckled. Who else? Of course, our most esteemed outsider god. Soon, the dragon loomed over the city. It's the real thing. But with this level of intellect, it's called disaster class? You're a bit too calm. Because even if I can't beat it, I can still run away. Who is it? Who dares toy with my level? A hero? Or that damned Saintus? The dragon roared and spewed flames. Houses turned to ash in an instant. The Knight Commander was the first to attack. The god urged Kong Hansu to finish the fight quickly. You mean that dragon? The god said he wanted the knight to witness Kong Hansu's true strength. Kong Hansu drew the holy sword. Is that a holy sword? Good eye. Even Cogmos had to touch it to realize it was a holy sword. Please don't compare me to that demon. So, are you a hero? No, I'm just a human holding a defective holy sword. The dragon roared loudly. Hero, get out here, or I'll raze this city to the ground. The archers loosed their arrows in unison, but he brushed them aside with ease. Your levels are far too different from mine. He breathed dragon fire again. The Knight Commander stepped forward and cleaved the flames with one strike. He can actually block its attack. Looks like he's no ordinary man. Of course, he's a knight who defends the nation. Then I can easily take one of his strikes too, right? The dragon slammed down with a palm, and the Knight Commander narrowly dodged. Suddenly, the dragon realized that each time it attacked, its level increased. I have to kill it before it grows stronger. At this moment, Dialoka looked at Kong Hansu in confusion. Who were you talking to just now? The one who enraged this dragon. Dialoka only looked blank. I'm going to prepare my attack. You draw its attention first. Dialoka flew straight at the dragon. Didn't expect there to be a high-ranking demon here. Perfect. Experience points. Dialoka raised her hand, and a beam of light instantly pierced the dragon's wing. The dragon was utterly enraged, and flames billowed across the sky. The god kept roaring in Kong Hansu's ear. Shut up, I'm focusing all my strength. Kong Hansu took a deep breath and gave his sword a light swing. His whole body shot forward. Seizing the opening left after the dragon's attack, a blur flashed past. The dragon's head flew high into the air. A perfect strike. Wait, what's going on? Decapitated and still talking? A mere level 1 human, and you actually used me as bait. Good work, Dialoka. To be slain by a human who isn't even a hero, that is a great shame to me. Since it's already happened, there's no need to dwell on the shame. I swear upon my soul, I will curse you for bringing me immense humiliation. With a flash of red light, a new curse appeared before Kong Hansu. Dragon's Wrath. Another curse? I've heard dragons are extremely proud. They almost never bow to others, let alone take the initiative to curse their enemies. How absurd. The god, however, danced with glee. Getting your comeuppance is only natural. But I clearly slew a disaster-bringing dragon in another world. Why am I still being cursed? What exactly does this curse do? Dragon's Wrath. When your life is in danger, an enraged dragon will come to attack you. So that means whenever I am in the greatest danger, this curse will trigger? Dialoka, on the other hand, beamed with joy. She also received a blessing with the same name. Dragon's Wrath. When your life is in danger, an enraged dragon will come to protect you. Don't tell me yours is a blessing too? Why does everyone get blessings while only I keep receiving curses? Afterward, Kong Hansu used the slime to break down the dragon, and collected a large amount of rare materials. Good stuff. However, the moment I take it away, it'll be exposed quickly. At this moment, the Knight Commander was being surrounded by the crowd at the center, receiving praise. In the evening, the Knight Commander solemnly stated he owed Kong Hansu his life. There was also a reward he had not yet had time to give him. Kong Hansu, however, shook his head, and said to distribute all the rewards to those injured in the disaster. Dialoka handled the translation. Our master has no interest in your little trinkets, so he's gifting them all to you humans. Why do I feel like your tone is weird? I've conveyed your meaning very accurately. The knight suddenly looked up and noticed white streams of air gathering in the sky. This is bad. Could this be Dragon's Wrath? A white giant dragon appeared in the sky. It was much smaller than the one from before. That was because the dragon's soul had once again manifested, out of its anger at Kong Hansu. Truly worthy of being another world. A mere bone. And it dares to look down on me. At the same time, the elimination tournament officially began to select the finest heroes. Thank you all for your support of the heroes. Next, let us witness their results. I heard Choi Kong-min is actually the strongest hero. You're too ignorant. The strongest is clearly Jang Mi-yun. The red-haired girl asked curiously. If the other heroes all fell into danger, what would you do? Of course, I'd step in to save them without a moment's hesitation. As expected of a hero. That boy would probably say the same, right? As the Saintess announced the start of the match, the heroes sprang into action. Choi Kong-min was the first to dash to the wagon. He already knew the task was to capture orcs, so he had parked the wagon at the city gate from the start. The black-haired girl grabbed the red-haired girl, activated the dash blessing, and sprinted toward the destination. Dash, charged toward the target at extreme speed. cannot slow down before reaching the destination. I didn't expect Choi Kongmin and Yubora to have already set off. I thought we were fast. We absolutely can't fall behind now. Meanwhile, the Saintess received a report. In the northern city of the Night Kingdom, the Crimson Dragon King Alkaiser has appeared. Is it really the Dragon King? Are you sure? Upon comparison, it's an exact match for the Dragon King the Saintess slew hundreds of years ago. If I recall, I dealt with it together with a hero back then. But it was clearly dead at the time. Could it be that a god resurrected it? Impossible. All the gods are watching the tournament right now. Was it to increase the hero's difficulty? But the heroes aren't there. Could it be the hero Kong Han-su? There is a god by his side who can block the goddess's observation. Could it be him? Before the situation gets out of control, I must go personally. Your Holiness, the Crimson Dragon King has already been slain. What nonsense are you talking? Although the report isn't fully confirmed, the Dragon King's aura has completely vanished. Then it can't be the Dragon King. No one can defeat him alone. Forget it, we'll investigate later. For now, focus entirely on the elimination tournament. Elsewhere, Oh Han-woo tried to hitch a ride on a wagon, but was mercilessly refused. At this moment, Julia asked him, "Don't heroes need to participate in the tournament?" Oh Han-woo used see-through to observe Julia, but learned nothing. See-through can view all of an enemy's statuses, with a high chance to discover weaknesses and secrets. Damn it, she has a curse on her, so I can't see anything. So he activated another blessing, special. The next second, Julia turned and said she would give him a ride. "I'll get you to your destination as quickly as possible." Meanwhile, the city was suffering devastating blows. "Master, what on earth is happening?" At this moment, two bone dragons were clashing above the city. Damn it, what kind of situation is this? Facing a massive bone dragon rushing at him, Kong Han-su cut it down in an instant. But in the next second, countless curses activated simultaneously, and swarms of bone dragons materialized in the air. They all pounced toward him. Meanwhile, a bone dragon lunged at the Knight Commander. With a single blow it severely wounded him, and knocked him to the ground. His blessing was triggered in response. A green-eyed bone dragon manifested in the air, and the two dragons immediately tangled with each other. Kong Han-su still could not figure out what principle this operated on. Dialoka, on the other hand, one-shot the bone dragon before her. "Master, things are getting way too strange." The bone dragon that had been locked in combat suddenly crashed down beside Dialoka, knocking her out on the spot. Her blessing was triggered as well. Yet another bone dragon took to the sky. If this keeps up, the whole city will be destroyed. Then I'll clean up everything in front of me first. The scene shifted. All the bone dragons had been cleared out by Kong Han-su. So many bone dragons gathering in one place, truly unheard of. Do you really not know the relationship between this blessing and that curse? Could it be because of the outsider blessing on me? That every time I use that power it consumes life, thus triggering the dragon's wrath curse. And then the outsider blessing restores my life, forming a loop. Although the curse can only trigger a limited number of times, as long as my blessing activates, the count gets reset. Looks like I'll have to rein myself in from now on. Meanwhile, the slime decomposed an enormous amount of rare materials. Dialoka, you can have all these materials. It does feel like a lot of trouble has piled up. But when I think about how rare they are, I can't help feeling a bit happy. The Knight Commander rolled up from the rubble and sat up. He said a few solemn words. But Kong Han-su did not understand a word. He says he's very grateful that you defeated the Bone Dragon, and sincerely invites you to visit his home. Kong Han-su readily accepted the invitation. The next second, the surrounding crowd lunged madly at the rare materials. Looks like we need to leave quickly, or we'll be surrounded. Then let's hurry up and go. You look pretty happy. Well, we did haul in a mountain of rare materials. The scene shifted. Kong Han-su, this is my home. I didn't expect somewhere this luxurious outside the city. And you say that for a knight, this already counts as modest? A massive manor came into view. This is way too modest. But why are you coming in with me? To translate for you, of course, so you don't cause any trouble. As the two were chattering away, the people inside the house were already observing them in secret. As an invited guest, Kong Han-su ate his fill with great satisfaction. Dialoka asked him whether he now understood the other party's true intent. So he wants me to accompany his eldest son to the academy, not the second one? That's right. The second son already has a companion. The one who needs looking after is the other child. In other words, they hope you'll take good care of that child, and accompany him to school. Kong Han-su could not understand a word they were saying, and could only rely on Dialoka to translate. Simply put, they want you to become their son's good friend, a trustworthy companion. Kong Han-su agreed decisively, and the god was very satisfied as well. Then Dialoka shrugged. Actually, they want to tame you, master. That's definitely you mistranslating again. I just omitted that heap of complicated words in the middle, that's all. That's called distorting the facts. Dialoka shouted at the couple. My master says your son is extremely rude, not even showing his face when guests arrive. He plans to tear that face right off. Kang Hansu was full of question marks, while the couple had already huddled in a corner, sweating cold. What did you just say? The fine translation skills of an excellent demon. The scene shifted. Dialoga, your translating is way too sloppy, you've nearly scared that couple to tears. By the way, do you know what Dumdor Academy is? It's one of the 4 great academies. An academy established by humans to fight monsters. And although humans remain weak no matter how hard they try, by uniting, they've instead become a symbol of the pursuit of peace. As she spoke, a young boy burst into the house and shouted loudly at them. Do you really need me to translate something this simple? No need, I can roughly understand. His father asked me to discipline this son properly. And I know very well how to make him a good student. Kang Hansu drove a fist straight into his face. Before the other party could react, he took another punch to the stomach. And then, with one more punch, he was blasted out the door. You should properly fulfill your responsibilities as a son. Looking at the child lying on the ground, Kang Hansu suddenly recalled his past self. Damn it, more memories I can't bear to look back on. He realized he had hit too hard, and hurried forward to check the injuries. As soon as the child opened his eyes, he was so frightened he ran around in a panic. Dialoka raised a hand and pointed, knocking him out again. What should we do with this kid? Bury him? Absolutely not. The scene shifted. Kang Hansu summoned the Knight Commander and others to help with treatment. A green light fell, and the child's injuries recovered instantly. But as soon as he clearly saw Kang Hansu's face, he immediately turned and ran in fright. Looks like you hadn't truly come to your senses yet. Kang Hansu decided to scare him a bit more, and suddenly unleashed his aura in full. Dragon's Wrath activated in turn. A bone dragon appeared above his head and swallowed him in one bite. The child stared wide-eyed in terror. The next second, Kang Hansu smashed the dragon's tooth with a punch. He walked out of its mouth. That was great. Come on, let's be friends. Elsewhere, the Saintess had just returned home, looking exhausted. With sponsors' resources steadily dwindling, relying on the temple alone to support the heroes is too much of a stretch. Just as I expected, no matter how the times change, some things never do. The communication crystal lit up, and the caller reminded her. The Academy's headmaster has been waiting for you since morning. But hasn't this year's hero admissions already ended? She says there's something important she must discuss with you in person. In addition, there's good news. The matter of the Crimson Dragon King has reached a conclusion. Although the city suffered heavy damage, casualties are minimal. That's finally a relief. Then let's talk about this next time. Connect me to the headmaster first. The headmaster's figure appeared in the crystal. Long time no see, Saintess. Has everything been going smoothly lately? Not smoothly, I'm swamped. As humanity's shield, you're still taking the initiative. Looks like everyone can relax and enjoy themselves. If that's all you've called to say, I'm hanging up. The headmaster hurried to the point. This year, we have high expectations for many freshmen. To that end, we plan to open the underground ruins to conduct research together with the heroes. The underground ruins? Sounds like you've already undone the seal? That's right. The Saintess fell silent for a moment. The underground ruins are a place where the gods once abused their power. That's why the treasures there possess unnatural power. Of course, great danger lurks there as well. But for the current heroes, they badly need new prey to spur their growth. It's settled. After the elimination tournament ends, let's head there together. After the call ended, she fell into thought once again. How many of those heroes will survive in the end? Meanwhile, Li Sha met Oh Han Woo through Julia's introduction. Thanks to you, I got to meet the legendary hero. Li Sha checked Oh Han Woo's status panel. He's only level 6, yet he has so many blessings. Could he really be a hero chosen by the gods? What do you think of this true hero? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I'd probably find it hard to believe. The scene shifted. They were hunting orcs. Even though we and the hero took a shortcut to get here, we can't guarantee others didn't beat us to it. At that moment, Li Sha spotted a few slimes. Looks like the orcs are nearby. Judging from these wounds, there should be a mage and a swordsman in the vicinity. The sounds of fierce fighting came from not far away, and the 3 of them rushed over at once. On a closer look, it turned out to be their class representative. The scene shifted. After the heroes' hard-fought battle, the elimination tournament finally drew to a close. Thank you for your patience, heroes. Now, I will announce the final rankings of this elimination tournament. Meanwhile, Kang Hansu was heading to the academy together with the child. Do you really hate the academy that much? Not that I'm a fan either. Dialoka said that her level was too high, and she probably would not be allowed in. You're my slave now. I can figure out a way to bring you in with me. But wouldn't it be dangerous for me to stay at the academy? The god, however, did not care in the least. Still, you should tell me why I absolutely have to go to the academy. Even if the reason you give doesn't satisfy me, I won't run away at the last minute. The god left only one line. Go, and you'll find out. Not long after, they arrived at the academy. After a series of inspections, they finally managed to enter smoothly. The older brother, however, wore a pained expression. Back to this hellish place again. Kong Hansu's attention was drawn to a statue nearby. Rather than an academy, it's more like a training camp. There are lots of rules here, so you'd better be careful. Kong Hansu promised he would be. A girl beside them also said politely, "Please take care of me from now on." Selona, level 9, Blessing, F rank warrior. Curse, F rank noble LVU 1. Looks like she's a noble young lady. Not long after, Kong Hansu arrived at the admissions office. "I didn't expect you're only level 1, yet you managed to pass all the academy's tests. Have you had contact with elves before?" Kong Hansu only remembered that he had been shot by an elf's arrow. How interesting. Although his blessings and curses are a mess, the headmaster still stamped you as qualified. This year, an elf will be coming to teach at the academy. I hope you can become a pillar of the academy. Kong Hansu said he would do his best. If you need anything, I'll do my best to help resolve it. The scene shifted. The entrance tests ended. Kong Hansu stood at a crossroads, unsure where to go. So, should I head back to the dorm now? The god's suggestion was, "You could go ask that statue." Why suddenly ask a statue? Before he could react, the god had already dragged him to the statue. "Are you sure you want to ask a statue questions?" The two people he had met earlier happened to pass by, and introduced that statue to Kong Hansu. "He is an ancient hero and the founder of this academy. My little brother's dream is to become a person like that. Who would have thought even a god cares about him? Looks like it's necessary to make time to investigate." At this moment, someone called out to them. "You're a freshman, right? Come put up the banner." What does the banner say? Of course, "Welcome to the academy, oh hero." So there really is a hero coming to the academy. Kong Hansu was stunned. "The hero you mentioned wouldn't be them, right? Outsider god, should I run now?" After all, the classmates were coming, which meant other gods would gather here as well. However, the god said he did not sense any other god's presence, and told him to relax. He also took the chance to praise the statue. "This is a very respectable statue." A nearby student was annoyed by Kong Hansu's attitude, and wanted to teach him a lesson on the spot. Watching the two walk farther away, the woman softly told her companion not to worry. The scene shifted, and the two were taken to a secluded place. A coral nearby happened to catch his interest. It turned out this was a blind spot to the academy's surveillance. Anything that happened here, the academy would know nothing about. The next second, Kong Hansu grabbed the other's throat. Just what I wanted. He had been holding back for a long time. A portal opened behind him, and he drew a small hammer from within. Although making a move in the academy was a bit inappropriate, he still chose to knock them out with one blow. The two on the side were dumbfounded. Facing the aggressive red-haired woman, Kong Hansu likewise wasted no words. In a flash, he had her pinned against the wall. "Classmate, please step aside." And thus, the freshman Kong Hansu's enrollment check-in was officially completed. The scene shifted. Kong Hansu and Dialoka were plotting that night's operation. They planned to infiltrate the academy at midnight. After that, the two went to a tavern, and walked straight up to a blonde man. Kong Hansu said he was introduced by a senior. Those so-called seniors were the two he had beaten up earlier that day, though that could not be mentioned for now. He stated his purpose. "I need a way to slip into the academy without a sound." The blonde man initially had zero interest, and instead set his sights on Dialoka at the side. He had barely hinted his intentions when, the next second, he was kicked flying to the floor. The people in the tavern swarmed in. In less than a moment, they were all laid out. Only then did Kong Hansu realize he had forgotten to stop Dialoka from making a move. The scene shifted again. The two infiltrated the academy with ease. Even Kong Hansu had not expected the operation to go this smoothly. Dialoka was very curious why he had to come to the academy at this time of day. Because he wants to investigate that statue. Pedonicus was actually the hero's companion, but because he coveted the hero's woman, he was permanently banished. Harboring resentment toward the hero, he swore fealty to the Queen of the Night, became a vampire, and ultimately succeeded in abducting that swordswoman. Unexpectedly, Dialoka remembered these ancient legends in vivid detail. The god said the statue hid a clue, but Kong Hansu could not see any hint for the moment. Dialoka reminded him. Maybe she knows. There was no road or obstacle between Pedonicus and that swordswoman. Pedonicus's gaze was fixed on the swordswoman, but the swordswoman was looking elsewhere, as if reminding us that the true direction lies somewhere else. They followed the swordswoman's gaze in their search. Before long, they arrived at an open area. The ground was carved with a pattern of the nearby lake. Conducting a wide area search was nearly impossible. At this moment, Dialoka recalled a legend. It said a mermaid, after a long wait, eventually turned into a statue. She pointed in a certain direction. Looks like that's where the mermaid statue is. Is this the legendary mermaid? Dialoka intended to smash the statue outright, but was firmly stopped by Kong Hansu. This is a very important clue. Since we were guided here by the swordswoman's line of sight, there must be something hidden in the mermaid's gaze as well. He looked around along the mermaid's line of sight. The next second, the ring on his hand suddenly shone with golden light. That was actually a proposal spell commonly used by mages. Right after, a new blessing appeared before him. Forgive, upon seeing your merciful face, they will want to confess. The god's face instantly turned ugly. Kang Hansu, however, was a bit gratified. I finally got a proper blessing. But before they could enjoy it for long, they were surrounded 3 deep by a crowd. This area had long been designated a restricted zone. Noticing the high-ranking demon by Kang Hansu's side, they immediately judged that he was no ordinary person. Just then, Forgive activated. Kang Hansu simply offered them a sincere apology, and the other party actually forgave him one after another. After a couple of grumbles, they left. The scene jumped. The academy's opening ceremony officially began. Meanwhile, a new teacher took the stage. The legendary guardian of flame and elder of the Elven Kingdom, Miss Celeblis. Seeing that familiar face, Kang Hansu instantly sank into past memories. Awful memories surfaced in a chain. The firebird stared straight at Kang Hansu. Did that bird just make eye contact with me? Faced with such a beautiful elven teacher, the whole hall instantly erupted. The host announced that the headmaster would now give the address. The headmaster began. This year's coursework will be extremely heavy, and the heroes will soon be joining us as well. The audience immediately boiled over. Next, she announced a brutal rule. All students would be split into upper and lower classes. The method is simple: duel each other until the numbers are halved. As soon as she finished, the entire hall plunged into a brawl. Kang Hansu was quite satisfied with this approach. Next, it was his time to shine. A furious roar rang out, and everyone scattered in fear before his aura. All of you, get to the lower class. The god silently prayed for these students on the side. The scene shifted. Kang Hansu made it into the upper class without issue. Students could choose one of two: the night course or the magic course. They also selected a prince named Rizel as class rep. Hearing the words, class rep, Kang Hansu suddenly fell into remembrance. I wonder what that guy is doing now. Meanwhile, the elimination tournament champion, Choi Kongmin, stood on the award stage and reached out to receive the legendary holy sword. He declared, I want to become stronger. The next second, he was sucked into a sudden portal.